Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is episode 202 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett, and I am here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. We're still with blonde Brett today. I'm just happy about it. I think he's going to fall in love with it by the end of the week, and he's not going to admit it to himself yet.
You think I'll cut it off? Even I'm shaving it off as I like it. I'm like, I don't want to cut it off, and I just cut it off
out of principle.
anyways.
You're gonna cut it off.
Yeah.
No, you should keep it.
It's like you can't pretend to like something, or you can't.
Everyone is complimenting you on it.
Well, I think a lot of those were paid bots. Paid bots. That's what we keep hearing about. It's all internet trolls. It's like a reverse internet trolls. And here to discuss many different things with us today is our guest host, who is still just getting settled in because she was just getting up here. Would you introduce yourself, please?
I don't know what you're talking about. Hi, I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for timcast.com, and I was definitely on time today. Brett's accusations of any tardiness are libel, and I
beat the late allegations.
I don't know what you're talking about. I personally love Brett as a blonde. I had a vision. You guys made it happen. I think it looks great. I think you guys should demand he do every show this week without his hat on if he's planning on shaving it off at the end of the week. That only seems fair to me.
I think actually,
why do you have your hat on right now anyway?
Actually, I think I did say I would do one more episode without the hat on.
Because the wager was a Hannah Claire idea. So
yeah,
it's only fair.
I don't understand it. Out in all its glory. It's just gorgeous. Like, amazing. The thing is, like, it's not a, what's a good way to describe this? It's a bold choice. And I really think Brett is pulling it off.
I did have the hat on. I did promise. I said I would do one more episode without my hat on, and then after that, they get nothing but I won't wear fitted hats, which blocks all of it. I'll wear backwards hats that are
that show off your bangs.
So
once we get the yellow and orange tones a little bit evened out, I think you're gonna love it, and you're not gonna get rid of it.
I don't even hate the warm orange yellow. I know really he should do another round of bleach to get it really light. And we're going to use some purple shampoos and stuff like that. But no.
It's a process.
I really think that strangely this is cool. It's an edgy look. And I think Brett is really can do this.
Yeah.
I have been getting a crash course in the different colored shampoos that I did not know were a thing because I'm a dude.
Because the color wheel exists.
Exactly. And that was the worst
crazy.
That was the worst part of film school for me was the colored wheel for color grading.
We have to acknowledge here that Brett is colorblind, so he doesn't actually know what color his own hair is.
Yeah, that could be true. You never know. I might have put any color in my hair. I might not even know.
But did we ever work out if they hit 15 this week in one show, if you'll do a color next?
No, that's not happening.
You're already there. You're already bleached. Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah,
you're queen of bleach over here. Help me out.
I've made too much fun
not
of people
just bleached,
who do,
but yellow.
I have done too many jokes about people with weird colored hair to assimilate into that.
But
then you're basically insulting me because I've colored my hair.
Yeah. Also, this way you can walk a mile in their shoes. You can't say what it's like to be a person with colored hair until you have colored hair. And I really feel like this is your
about
opportunity.
Representation on screen.
That's fair. Okay. And by the way, guys, at 6 p.m. tonight, they are going to put up a thing on the Timcast website.
Yeah, the behind the scenes of Brett's bleaching journey.
God, that is not a phrase I ever wanted to hear.
It's a journey.
So basically, you'll see me looking very dejected as my hair gets dyed by my co-host.
I think Brett liked it. Brett was I guess if we have to, except he was totally ready.
Yeah.
I was I just don't want to pay for it. Maybe Mary will buy the hair dye.
You told me you would call the salon.
I did call salon. So, guys, there's more important things to talk about than my hair. Trust me.
Absolutely nothing is more important than blonde Brett. I'm just going to put that on the table.
We have it's not hilarious. It's kind of evil. We have emails that were thank you. An email that was leaked about basically Amber Heard's PR rep was do what we want or else to this person who has been it's not a citizen journalist, but they're a very
She's an independent journalist and rather well known. Her name's Jessica Krause.
And she published a lot of stuff on Heard in depth, and one of Heard's PR reps from the new firm that took over to represent her was like, "Hey, you better not do that here." So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Mary has some very deep thoughts about Game of Thrones, and right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna do that.
Some very important opinions that you should listen to.
They're very important. They're very important, guys. And then after that, we are going to talk about the UK censoring jokes on behalf of the Queen and her passing, which I when I saw, I'm like, I feel like Hannah Claire will have much to say about
As
this.
our token British citizen in the room, I'm happy to comment on this.
That is exactly, that is what you are. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. So if you guys are ready, we will just get right into it. Mary, are we ready?
Let's go.
Hannah Claire, are we ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
So before we do that, however, Hannah Claire,
we've got an update
guys,
on Hannah Claire's wager.
So I was in my office. I was keeping up with the insane progress, the party crisis chaos, let's say, on Friday. I do want to clarify, it was 25 crisis parties for me to watch all of the Fast and Furious, but it was 10 crisis parties for me to watch the first one. So I have watched the first Fast and the Furious. I'm happy to share my thoughts if you guys would like it.
Yes,
we would
love
like
to
it.
hear.
And
overall rating?
Well, and I was going to say possibly if I manage it. The thing is, I don't really make time to watch movies, but theoretically,
she's too good for
the
us.
next 9 weeks, I could come back every Tuesday with an update. Maybe I
It's
really
like
can't
it's like a Chet formation. Chet formation. It's a fast formation.
Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna go with formation. That's a lot, but okay. The thing is, okay, look, Fast and Furious 1. Here we go. Let's dive deep. It's kind of a fun question about law, and the cars are flashy, and I can understand it's got this understanding of camaraderie and wrong versus right, and I don't know, cars are cool, and it's got this idea of like two cultures that live in one city, LA, with this street racing versus the police. The thing is, it's fine. It's totally fine movie.
It's a fantastic movie.
I wasn't in love with it. There are parts that are kind of cool, and I can see how like the biggest like emotional connection is the like revving of the engines, right? Like everyone knows what that's like to be in a car when the car engine revs, but to think that it's going even faster, like 140 miles per hour, like I get why psychologically it kind of gets the blood pumping. There are several plot holes that I just don't really understand, but that's true of a lot of movies. Like, I don't really understand. Am I spoiling it if I like go into it?
Well, it's 21 years old. So
Yeah,
I had never.
If you're gonna get mad about spoilers for Fast and the Furious,
I'll just say it. I don't think Mary's ever seen it, but
yeah, but will I ever see it?
look, you don't
That's
have.
a better
You won't
question.
have to. I'll save you the time.
Yes, that's what this is for.
Like when at the end he's like, "Take this car. Like I owe you a 10-second car. Get out of here, you scamp." Like. Also, he's a police officer, and he just leaves this guy, this like Asian motorcyclist he shot like on the side of the road, and he's like, "Somebody call police!" Like this guy, hopefully, is getting kicked out of the police force no matter what.
Well,
all sorts of issues.
That's what happens. He
Okay.
has to go on the run after he gives Dom his car at the end.
So super plausible. Whatever. The thing about Fast and Furious is, I could understand. It's not my style. I could understand where you feel like this is a cult classic. It really does evoke an
It's
era.
not a cult classic. It's just a
Or like
classic.
this is just something that you really love, right? I could totally get why you would. Someone might like
How old are
this
you?
first movie.
20.
No, I'm not gonna tell you my age.
Okay.
You're gonna steal my identity.
Okay. The point is,
but-
I want to go into like I think
Wait,
that
wait.
you had to be closer to my age to appreciate how big of a thing this was at the time.
Look, I get that there are big movies. What
Not
bothers
just
me?
not just that, but like street racing was a big thing in culture at that time.
Sure, and like,
Why?
oh my gosh,
just was.
looking at the fashion,
What?
It
like
just was.
they thought cars were cool. Also, looking at the fashion, like low-rise jeans everywhere, Von Dutch. Like I want to look at this and be like,
Also,
it is the early 2000s.
that is
His
cool.
his hair, Paul Walker's hair, oddly enough, except for his is like highlighted blonde, longer.
So
like
was Devon Aoki only in the second one?
second one.
That's it.
Yep, she was only in the second
Yeah.
one. She never really ended up in any of the other ones.
Okay.
So overall, Fast and Furious 1, fine.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm not in love with it, but I'm not I wasn't like, this is a terrible movie by any means. It's just not really my thing. What bothers me, and there's no way for me to watch this franchise without acknowledging that I already know some things from many a debate about Fast and Furious. Why do they end up in space? Like, this seems dumb. Why do they end up in Tokyo? Like, it takes away from this feel of like small town LA local camaraderie with this subculture. Then all of a sudden they're just kind of like doing things with cars in more and more ridiculous places. Like, it's hard for me to divorce that, like, this movie, which is totally fine, I can understand why some people love it, is suddenly going to end up over here on left field. Like,
I love how Brett is so ready to defend it.
What I'm
supposed to be
going
a
to say
quick
is that the point is that the street racing aspect is window dressing, right? At its heart, it's still a mediocre in telling cop drama about a guy trying to bust a guy for ripping off trucks, ripping off semis. But the thing is what they do is the first two movies gradually increase the stakes of it, right? In the second one, they deal with the FBI in a
I mean, technically, FBI are in the first one too.
But he doesn't work for the FBI in the first one. He works for the LAPD or whatever, right? So and then the second one, he goes to the FBI, and then it just gets by the third one, it gets progressively more ridiculous, arguably, but it goes back to a more normal tone after in 4 and 5, but then starts to get back into ridiculous upwards again.
See, like for me, the thing that I liked most about this movie was this understanding of camaraderie, family, and loyalty that is, and how it relates to the community that they're in. Like there are understandings of like the gangs that are in the area, that the neighborhoods have certain divisions. That is the most interesting thing about me, and like I preemptively know that all gets thrown out for the rest of the franchise.
Like, I mean, the community
but
part
they're not
does.
even, they're in Miami for the next one? Like
the community part does, but Dominic isn't in the second one, so family isn't really a theme the same way.
So, like, what I'm saying is, like, the themes that were interesting to me about this movie become irrelevant from this point out.
Family becomes a huge part of it to the point where it becomes a meme later on, but it's not part of community.
Well, maybe you're going to find it in a different expression as you go along.
It's family in a more insular sense, right? So they're not... it's not about the community around them. It's about that core group of people that they build out. And you don't meet all those characters in the first movie. Ja Rule was in the first one. Sorry. Ludacris's character doesn't come in until the second one. You don't meet them until down the line. And then so that becomes a through line for it with a more ridiculous backdrop as things go forward.
I don't want to drag this out for too long. And I understand that you want me to like these movies. I just can tell you that, like, this was not I wasn't in love with this movie enough to forgive some of the antics that I am aware are coming. Does that make sense? Well, I will try and stay as open-minded as possible, but I do feel like there's no way for me to watch these without being like, they end up in Tokyo.
Like, you can't suspend disbelief as if you were watching it at the time it came out.
It is funny watching the government come to them for help when they're not qualified by any metric by which the government would judge asking people for help. He's an ex-cop. The rest of them are like he owned a cafe and he was a criminal. Like they're not qualified. But it's fun. There is a funny part in the first movie that I guess didn't realize
like the street racing thing is not so fun for me. Like it's fine, but I am not so interested in this.
It's a guy.
There are always excuses with this guy.
They
keep it.
It's a guy movie. It's a guy you weren't there at the time it came out. And street racing was so big back then.
Just say you guys are wrong. If you need to present, but I'm not going to say that.
Okay, we're straight up just like fighting now.
No, but like if you need to present this many like justifications for why it was good, like I think we just need to accept that like
this goes to the subjective nature of art, my friend.
Don't get me started again.
Okay, I do want to point out there's a funny mistake that I think they pointed it out in when they do like cinema sins, where like in the first movie where like the guy's waiting for a call from the cops and the cops announce that somebody's been murdered and they're like, okay, we're good to do the street race. Like, that is very dark and grim, but at the time, it was the 2000s. Nobody cared that somebody died.
Is, like, I thought that was really interesting. Like, because I was watching it, and I was like, how are they going to, like, know when to street race? Like, there are no cops. Like, I know street racing is a real thing, and I am curious about, like, how does that happen in major cities? And the fact that they're like, we wait for a huge crime to happen, so the police are tied up. Like, that's such a simple solution. I didn't even think of it. Like, that I appreciated. But, like, some of the, like, I don't know, like, you're a cop, just kidding, it's fine, just kidding, I like them. Well, actually, sort of that I like his sister. Like, it wasn't enough of a hook for me to, like, completely buy into this universe.
The funny thing is, like, my favorite part of those early movies was, like, Tom Barry as, like, the FBI guy and Ted Levine as the sergeant, because Ted Levine was in Monk, and Monk was...
Yeah, that's where I recognized him.
Guy's
I heard his voice, and I was like, Monk's what's happening?
Well, he was in the original Heat. And
I've never seen that.
All the way back to the 90s, and it is to me one of those things. I love that movie, but I understand why people don't, and I think that's one of the things about always loving movies that people kind of like make fun of. Is like you're always on your heels.
But
I'm like, bite me.
But
I don't
like,
care.
I am always
awesome.
I am always the minority opinion when I say that I don't. And I do appreciate the challenge to now watch them and be like, do I actually feel this way about Fast and Furious? Because I had never seen them before. It just seemed like 10 was too many. And every time people would be like, but I go to space. Like, I'd be like, that doesn't make it sound better.
No, they're not. They're trying to say that in like whenever somebody says that to you, they're clearly pointing it out in a way that's supposed to be
ironic.
Yeah, it's like, this is ridiculous. Just let go and enjoy. They're not you fundamentally run into problems when somebody who just doesn't view cinema that way can't engage. I can let go and be like, this is absolutely bonkers and stupid. But I love it. Let's keep going.
There are like suspend disbelief, ridiculous movies that are like more my speed, I guess, is what I would argue. I don't know.
Like which ones?
Like
JFK.
What? What's that one where the guy, he's like dating an old lady, something in Maude? I can't remember what it's called. Someone in the comments will know what I'm talking about. Except I don't really care about the main romantic relationship. I really like the like young guy's relationship with his mom. They're like super weird. But
that's unrealistic.
Wait, what?
Hold on. I have to look this up. But okay. I am happy to continue watching them. I will just say that, like, as you always point out to me,
it's going to get more ridiculous.
You're acting like you have to defend the franchise, but as you have told me, these make money. These obviously are appealing to someone. Yep. I am always the minority opinion when I say this, and, like, nothing so far has convinced me that there needed to be a sequel to this movie. Other than the fact that I guess they left it, like, open-ended enough where there are some, like, plot points to resolve. Which a lot of movies that get
was it on a cliffhanger?
Even in the second one,
he like gives his car to Vin Diesel and is like, "Get out of here!" And then he's like, clearly a like cop who has gone off the rails.
There's actually
so it's like, what happens to you?
There's actually between 1 and 2, there's like a prelude that they released that it shows
Harold and Maude. That's the movie I'm thinking
of. There's a prelude that comes up between Fast and Furious 1 and 2 that shows him running, like escaping and like going on the run. Before he gets to Miami, where the second one picks up. It's actually really, really funny because it's like very clearly not made by like the company that makes the movies. It doesn't look like a high-end movie, but it's great. So.
Oh, have you seen the John Waters movie Pecker? That's the other movie that is like kind of weird and ridiculous, but I really like.
Well, you and your high-end movie taste, and me and my Fast and the Furious, we will just be fine with it.
Okay, like what is the objective here? Am I gonna have walked away liking Fast and the Furious, or like
yes?
Like, you just want my honest reaction? Because I just
want your honest reaction.
Okay.
That's what we're here for.
Because I will say, like, if we are taking a test in why are there so many sequels to this movie, like, I'll give you a point where I think it should get cut off.
That's not the point. The point is not just why is it getting made.
So far, really, the point is to watch you suffer through it if you don't like it.
To make these reviews snappier, I feel like there need to be some kind of through lines that we hit each time. And, like, I'll give you my overall things that I like, things I didn't. But I think I should point out.
Did you rate it for us?
What would I rate it out of?
Out of 10?
I don't know. It's like okay. It's the first one. It's hard to say. Like, I guess I'll give it like a 5, maybe a 6.
Okay.
It's above average.
I want to point out that there doesn't need to be a question as to why they get made because we know why they get made. Maybe we should look for another question.
See, what I was going to say is I will say at this point, like, do I think there could be a sequel? And I will say for this one, like, open and enough ending. People were attached to the characters. It was a hyped movie at the time. Like, I could see why there might be a second one. I don't know that I agree, but I could see it. But I think from here on out, it just will go on to being like, there's only a sequel because it's making money, which doesn't actually give it a strong plot.
Right.
All right. I will say one of the things that
Super Chat stopped during this time. I want to point that out. No one wants to hear me talk about Fast and Furious. You guys did this to yourselves.
This is Brett's wager, I think. I think this was his idea.
This was his idea.
Was it? I don't remember. I want to point out that there are strengths that go later on by employing like more charismatic actors along the way that come in. They're not all there in the first one. Ludacris isn't there in the first one. I like his character, even though he's kind of bland, but he has a funny portrayal. Tyrese Gibson, it's objectively probably one of the only roles he's actually any fun in my opinion. There's a lot of stuff that comes in down the line that adds to it's a very different dynamic. It very much becomes an ensemble.
Brett has to have the last word on Fast and the Furious. It's my review, and Brett has the last word.
I do. It becomes more of an ensemble plot down the line. So we're going to move on now that we've agreed that I'm right about the Fast and the Furious.
Right. 17 hours to go, guys.
That's it. Okay. So it says that Amber Heard's PR team admits that the bruised photos are fake in leaked email. The more important part of this is talking about the fact that the PR firm, the representative from this PR firm, essentially gives a low-key threat to this what's her name?
Jessica Krause.
Jessica Krause.
And not only that, but says think of your family.
Yes, it's very
in the email, which is so threatening. I know that blackmail is a definitive legal term, but if we're talking colloquially, this sounds like a blackmail email trying to get her to not report on this.
It's definitely threatening.
I never go with colloquially on air. I save that one. That one always works when you're just having a regular conversation. On air, I trip over that one every single time. So it says, Jessica, I would like to apologize to you and your family for what I wrote in my previous email. That looked like a threatening email to you and your family. That was a dumb intention. I am not going to engage in this anymore. I'm only reading that first because it becomes very hard through reading this, like, to understand how this email was phrased, but we're going to get into it.
Yeah, this person, whoever wrote this, is functionally illiterate because, wow, like, I could barely understand what she was saying.
So it says, I owe you an explanation about what is actually happening, the leaked email began. The truth is, the insider revealed, they didn't need to put that there, is that Amber is guilty, but an entire PR firm has been employed to help discredit the verdict against her in the defamation case. The team allegedly intended to, quote, twist the facts involved in the case and tried to discredit Johnny in an attempt to win back favor for Amber. I heard the audios of Amber confessing to assaulting Johnny, and of course, her bruised photos are fake, the source went on to claim. In the initial threatening note, someone warned journalist Jessica Krause against publishing damning articles about Amber. Quote, you're in great danger if you release part 4 of Amber Heard fake S something.
S asterisk X S.
Party
Tell
stories.
us what that means.
I have no idea.
Star S. Party stories. What does that mean? Anyone have ideas?
And it says, you don't want to mess with us. Think of your family, your choice. Think of your family, your choice, read the note. There's a whole bunch of, she needs to buy some vowels and some commas and put them in there somewhere. The point is that comes across to me, if it was not so poorly written, as a threat.
And that...
Did she open with, I don't want to sound like, I'm sorry if I previously threatened you and I'm going to threaten you again? Or are we quoting her previous email?
She apologized for that immediately after she walked it back and said, I'm sorry for what I wrote.
I feel like this girl
in my previous email.
Or man, whoever is writing this, is writing while drunk, and that's half the issue.
You think?
Oh, I'm not.
Some people really can't write emails.
Some people can't write emails, but also some of this, seems like you were like, I just gotta tell this girl what I'm thinking, and you're just
Do you think the whole PR team was binge drinking throughout the trial?
No, it feels like this girl was like, I can handle it, and it's like, no, girl.
So to continue, after she walked that back and apologized to Jessica Krause, he said, here is the deal. In June 2nd, this is also terribly written. In June 2nd, after the verdict, in order to change the narrative, Alifair, we don't know the first name of this person.
Alifair Hall. Alifair is their first name.
Oh, okay. See, Alifair
works
Hall.
For Shane. So I have this, before we go on.
From Shane Combs, contacted several Heard Stan accounts in order to further step up the effort of making Amber look innocent.
So just the year prior, Shane Naley Communications hired Alifair Hall as a new partner who had spent 12 years working at agencies like Edelman and Outcast in L.A. and San Francisco. She has clients including Facebook Marketplace, Oculus, Amazon Prime. She's very much has a history working in these areas. So that is a real person. I had to check too because I was like, what the hell is an Alifair? That doesn't sound like a real thing.
Is that an industry term?
So that is a person. And Jessica Krause, I want to point out, Jessica Krause is no small person, like as far as size of platform, right?
She's got tens of thousands of subscribers on Substack and a million or so followers on Instagram.
And she's got part 1 through 4, Depp vs. Heard. She's got.
I also saw that she was she took a picture with Camille Vasquez after the verdict was reached. So she had a lot of inside information about the trial. So the email continued saying the unsealed document was seen as a massive opportunity to shift the scale, even going so far as misrepresenting the facts. Tenbarge, who is Kat Tenbarge from NBC News, is part of that effort. She plans to target you this month with a hit piece about your lies.
It just proves to you how manufactured and organized everything is about this world. There is not an ounce of...
that the PR firms are in direct communication and cooperation with mainstream media outlets in favor of Amber Heard, that means that, the prospect of her having, droves of bot accounts trying to change the conversation on social media is more likely than we thought, or more prevalent than we thought.
So it says, according to the source, Kat was hired as some sort of strong arm to combat the truth. The PR team allegedly was going as far as twisting the unsealed documents to make Depp look bad. That's why you saw a bunch of articles on the mainstream media promoting this.
Now, to be fair, they did make Johnny Depp look bad. Those texts where he was making jokes about like her mutilated corpse.
But that came out long before. That was the one with Paul Bettany. The new ones were the ones with Marilyn Manson, and they basically were using.
She was called like the C word in those texts.
I just feel like there wasn't enough to offset. Like, by no means
it was too
Johnny
late.
Depp like a perfect person or innocent in a lot of ways, but like her behavior was so outlandish that it didn't do enough to his actions didn't do enough to overshadow hers. I will also point out that like to have an aggressive PR team is often the move of people who are aware they are going to be publicly unpopular. So like Meghan Markle, I wish I had a source of this, but I had read at one time that her PR team had a contract with, I don't remember if it was People Magazine or like one of these other big celebrity publications, that they would get like $10,000 a month to write a positive article about her. And didn't matter what it was. It had to be like, she wears a great dress. She's helping the poor. She's doing anything that she would always every month have a positive piece about her. Like, that is a weird thing to do unless you know that your image leans negatively.
But we have to remember that Amber Heard fired her PR team that she had during the trial in May.
This was the new team,
and she hired a new team
in June.
But I assume clearly it's because the first one wasn't aggressive enough.
Yeah, but is this an improvement upon the last one? If you're making a public fool out of your client,
I think they got in it too late. She waited too long to hire the new PR firm. By that time, the public opinion.
But this sounds like it's done in haste and in panic.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that was part of the reason she fired her team. Like, they weren't giving her the results she wanted because public opinion was pretty firmly set against her. And I think from what we know about Amber Heard, obviously none of us actually know her, but like, she wanted to come across.
I heard she likes TJ Maxx.
It's that she didn't want to just come across as like neutrally, like she did something wrong, he did something wrong. She wanted to look like the victim. She wanted to look like she was innocent and he was completely wrong. And that is an extremely hard thing to try and ask. I mean, like, even defense lawyers will review evidence and be like, look, you should take a plea bargain. Like, you are not going to get exonerated from these crimes. And I feel like in some ways, I wonder if she had a similar conversation with her PR teams. They were like, we are not going to be able to sway public opinion so much that you are ever completely out of the light here.
They can't just do a magic trick.
The audio tape exists. The audio tape of her berating him and basically laughing at the fact that he's suffering exists. No matter what he did, it doesn't make her look good.
And even if there are Amber Heard, I don't know if they're bot accounts or just like fan accounts, like there aren't as enough of them, especially when the ones for Johnny exponentially increased. Right. And the internet itself dug up, like it's hard for me to unsee that video, even though I don't think that he's a great person.
No.
But that video where they're on a red carpet and she raises her hand to like brush her hair and he flinches. Like that was years and years before any of this. Like it was really hard for her to recover from like basically the time and attention that the internet gave to meticulously combing through their public interactions.
Well, and the just the fact that in general his exes, all but one came to his defense and said he's the gentlest person you've ever met. Do I think he's a good person? I don't know. It
doesn't really matter because that's not what the trial was about. But I think that's what social media was focusing on. Unfortunately, because I don't think the trial and the details of the case made either one of them look good.
I think it just made her look slightly worse.
Yeah.
And her, not to mention the fact that he was a better performer.
And it made clear that, like, she betrayed the public somewhat in the beginning several years ago when she was like, I am the victim. I'm going to donate to women.
She didn't write an article about the problems of toxic relationships in which both parties are bad to each other. She made an article about her being
she built herself up.
No, she didn't say that outright, though. Like when I read the article,
is there.
Yes, the implication.
But I'm just saying that
if you know about her background, then you would insinuate certain things. But when I read the article, I can't honestly say that I think it was defamatory. She didn't even say that she was like the victim of abuse except for in like her childhood.
Well, she said
article.
I'm the face of domestic.
She said she became a public figure who represents domestic abuse,
which is weasel words, it's
weasel words that could even mean I became a representative of domestic abuse perpetrators. That's how vague it was.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm not giving her any leeway here. I'm not.
It's not leeway. It's just truthfully what the article said. She didn't say she was a victim. She didn't say she's a face for victims.
I mean, I think part of it is that she left room for open for interpretation. What her
remember,
role
she
was
didn't
in
write
this.
that. Lawyers wrote that.
And
article.
she did specifically target Johnny in the article that I'm thinking of.
She didn't name him or even allude to the time frame or like what he did for a living.
In the Washington Post article? Yeah. But that's the thing. Like, so Anna Kendrick just came out with this, like, I'm directing a movie and it's a lot about like emotional abuse. The last public relationship she was in was with Bill Hader. And like,
she said spousal abuse. She's only been married once.
Yeah. Like,
yeah, that's a lot different. But like Amber Heard didn't say anything close to that.
No,
in
that's
that
Amber
article.
Heard, right? The spousal abuse.
I thought she said spousal abuse.
And Anna Kendrick's never been married.
Do you mean Anna Kendrick's
interview,
or
I'm talking about two separate things for a comparison.
Washington Post.
So Amber Heard is saying, I don't know, I can't remember if she said spousal abuse or not, but that would be a link that, like, while she never named Johnny by name, like, she has ruled out the possibility of it being any other partner.
I don't think she said spousal abuse in that article.
But my comparison is to Anna Kendrick, who is directing this new movie, and it has a lot to do with, like, emotional abuse in relationships, I guess. And she said, like, at the time that my publicist or whatever brought this script to me, I was just getting out of a relationship that had a lot of emotional abuse in it, so it felt really personal. And the most public relationships that she's been in of late is with Bill Hader. But we don't actually know that she's alluding to Bill Hader because we don't actually know the details of her life. With Amber Heard, the implication of the article, from what I remember it being on trial, is that enough of the details excluded any other partner and made it specific to Johnny. So even though she doesn't name him by name, she meets the standard for defamation.
Are you still looking for it?
I'm not paywalling.
I found it on the Wayback Machine when I read it, so it might take us a while to find it.
But either way,
but
like,
from what I remember, it
not
didn't narrow it down hardly at all, and it was ghostwritten. That's obvious. I don't think that the article itself was defamatory, but I do think that she, like, my personal opinion
is that... So you think that the
jury
jury was wrong in their conviction of her for defamation?
I mean, possibly. I don't really, like, think that this should have been a public matter in the first place.
No, it should
I don't
not
think
have.
it should have gone to trial anyway.
Really? I think it should have. I think defamation is one of the most interesting legal challenges
I
in our
became
country,
a public figure representing domestic abuse, and I felt the full force.
That's
of
not...
But that is specific to the fallout of her marriage with Johnny Depp.
Where does it narrow it down there?
Because she came out and said, he's been abusing me. There were all the videos. She specifically said she would donate to domestic women's charities.
So she's saying
she didn't say she was
not
a victim.
Just
in
this
that article, though.
But
that article is what the trial was really looking at, and it didn't narrow it down.
Narrow it down to what?
To Johnny Depp.
But, like,
the timeline and
when
detail.
she became a public figure associated with domestic violence, it was during the fallout of her marriage with Johnny Depp, like her divorce.
So you're supposed to insinuate from all the context that you would need to be extremely knowledgeable about the context of the timeline of their relationship, when they broke up, and then public statements made outside of that article to call it defamatory.
But that's like the whole reason that she didn't actually write it, but this article was significant because at the time her marriage was like front page news, and the demise of the marriage and the settlements and like the videos, like everything that came up in trial, that was like why a lot of people felt like this was a domestic violence trial when really it was a defamation trial, was because during that time these were the allegations. Like this article that we have from the PR agent alludes to the fake bruise photos. That was the day that she filed for divorce from Johnny Depp.
Also, they point out that she called TMZ to come there the day she filed the restraining
order. Which came up at trial. I mean, I think this was a clear case of defamation. I think defamation is just complicated. I also think that like she benefited from the PR, the positive PR she got from being, like you said, she doesn't say she's a victim, but she doesn't not say I'm a victim. She doesn't say I am just advocating for women who have been a victim. She's not saying I'm a perpetrator of domestic violence. Like she is letting you draw the connections between these moments that she has presented herself publicly as a victim of domestic violence and her association with it. And that was all during her time with Johnny Depp.
So if they're taking the like you said, is it based just on the article, or is it based on the article in connection to everything that happened at that time?
Well, defamation
it's about everything around it.
Yeah, and defamation is like they specifically tried to damage the character and that had consequences for the person. So it's actually really difficult to prove defamation against a public figure.
I think we're getting
except for the fact that he
I wanted to get back to the part about the threat from the PR person.
Sure.
That to me is the more interesting part. We've gone over the Depp Heard thing a bunch of times already, right? Like everyone can draw their own conclusions. I do think it's scary when you think about the power that someone who works for a big PR firm can have by saying, we go back to what I said about weasel words. She doesn't say, but they imply what that means when they say, think about your family. Right? That's what are you supposed to take away from that?
Also, like, this is one leaked email. Like, what goes on at this PR forum with the emails that don't get leaked? You know what I mean? Like, how often is it in their practice to threaten people and journalists? Like, that's crazy.
Sure, it would be bad if a bunch of articles came. I just saw a thing today that a coach for like a football or a basketball team just got like a $10 million fine or $1 million fine for saying the N-word in the past. Like, the media has an incredible amount of reach and power. All you have to do, think about this. If you can hire a firm like this, or you can hire a PR firm to have articles written about you, right? What is the most important thing to you, like when you're job searching, right? People aren't just going to look at your LinkedIn. They're not just going to look on their social medias. They're going to actually Google your name. And what happens when the first 10 articles that come up about you are all signal boosted to the top of your Google results, and they're all negative?
Yeah, and it's not just that, because it seems like Jessica Krause is, like, as an independent journalist, dependent on controlling her public image too. So it's not just about representing a company she works for, but it's her very name that would be on the line, and also her ability to post on social media.
Yeah, she has no backing from a major company.
Like, obviously media outlets are able to influence like social media networks to censor and ban people, and that could easily happen to a journalist who is accused of spreading disinformation.
But just not just that, but they don't even need to necessarily censor you, just discredit you. All they need to do is make you
in
look
some
like,
cases that can almost be worse.
Yes. So to me, I find like I said, we've rehashed Amber, Johnny a million times. Whatever your take is on them, the PR firm's actions are kind of abhorrent and awful.
Yeah, that's why I think Amber Heard didn't make a great decision hiring this new team, because...
But I wonder if they're the only one who would take her. Like, she fires her team. Well, if you fire your team, every other PR firm can kind of see the writing on the walls, like, that she is extremely unpopular. Like, they don't... It's mutual. Like, the client has to want to work with the PR firm, and the PR firm has to want to work with the client. Maybe this is the one that took her.
I'm going to read Jessica's response, because Jessica responded to the journalist responded. So she says, in response to the threats, Jessica wrote back, "I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt that maybe this hit piece is just a rumor, which I'm happy to ignore. And if that's the case, please accept my apologies in advance." Quote, "If not, if in fact this is a working endeavor and you think you're going to slander me in print for telling the truth after conspiring with a team who threatens independent journalists and their family members with hints of violence, I'll make sure your name is forever attached to every threat I receive from here on out." She continues before adding, "People will know you for your allegiance to PR thugs instead of words or articles."
PR thugs is a really catchy one.
Start a band called the PR Thugs. Let's go.
They all think they're madmen, but they're actually PR thugs.
So
it shows tremendous restraint that she wouldn't put this person on blast.
Jessica clearly knows what she's talking about and understands the gravity of the threats against her. So I'm
sure it's not a new thing. Like, if you are covering current events, even if it's just pop culture,
Yeah, this isn't
that
even
affects people's lives, and I'm sure it's big stakes, and people throw their weight around like this all the time.
It's not like we're talking politics or serious reform. We're talking about a bunch of awful people being awful to each other that just happen to capture the public interest, and this type of thing is being said.
Then imagine as you go up to a tier of different influence in the
people who dictate policy
in the public consciousness. Yeah, think about how it can escalate.
I want to point, I had a friend one time when it was very interesting. We were talking about COVID or something. He's like, I don't wear masks. Like, whatever. It's like very normal thing. We were having our discussion back and forth. This was like early on, and then we got to talking about news. He's like, well, if I wanted news, I'd just go to the AP. And I was like, you have to stop looking at it, whether it's the AP, whether it's CNN, whether it's Fox News. You have to stop looking at all of this as a benign, benevolent apparatus designed to inform you, and about a strategic and intentional means to sway you.
Yeah.
And this is a perfect, I would love if it was apolitical, but it's unfortunately not. It's not considered apolitical. It would be a wonderfully apolitical way of showing you that it goes so much deeper than what you see. It's not just turning on your computer and reading a headline. It's so much more than that.
Yeah.
It's scary.
I think it's similar to how people feel about the White House press secretary. The White House press secretary seems like they should be an open and transparent source who gives you information about the federal government, but actually they are attached to the president as they are a political candidate. So policies that lean towards that party are obviously given preferential treatment in the presentation that they give to the news media. It's not about, actually just being, I would hope that there are some presidential administrations that could be we're going to put bipartisanship and, non-political agendas first, but that's just unrealistic. The same way that PR agencies are hired to spin for their clients, that's what the communication branch of the federal government is doing. They are spinning for their client, who is a representation of their party.
Yep. I want to do super chats. Let's do super chats.
Halls and the Kid said, I can't wait till Hannah Claire is a diehard Fast and Furious by the end of this. Also, it helps if you think of it like a superhero movie. Don't try to make it make sense.
But I don't like superhero movies.
Well, that's your first problem.
That's weird because Halls and the Kid told me that she doesn't like superhero movies either.
Yeah. Also, she was the one who was stormed the studio when they break your record.
There's more up above there. I think they might have gone by.
They're gone.
Okay, so it says from Clint Torres says, hi people, I saw the blondening on Mary's IG and immediately thought to myself, this pleases me. Knew I was going to get my wish. So thank you guys.
I think you're an honorable man of your word, Brett.
That's what I posted. I said, when you make a wager, you honor that wager. So it's from.
Are you gonna post a picture on your Instagram of this?
Well, not on my main. I posted one. No,
I want a permanent one that goes.
Please.
No.
Yeah.
From
I'll take a video of you skating with your blonde hair, and then it's in theme, but it's blonde.
Maybe that. Center Conservative Mom 98 says, please do a color blue-haired liberal Brett. You will never get blue-haired liberal Brett.
What if we do Star Spangled Banner? We do some red stripes. We do a little bit more bleach, so it's white. Some stars.
I bought some. When you're I bought American flag pajama pants.
You did?
I never wear pajama pants, but I bought them anyways. Hobbit for $5 says, natural hair matters. You were honorable and met the challenge, Brett. We can ask no more of you. See? Take that.
No, I think you can ask more of him.
No. It's not funny unless we make him dye his hair color.
AK Storm 49. Hannah Claire, you're giving Brett crap about losing the wager, but how's the Fast and the Furious treating you?
Hopefully by now you've heard that I have done my first review. I'm going to try and commit to watching one a week, but realistically, I just don't have that kind of time, but I'll do my best. Also, I need other people to help me stream them, and everyone in our office is aware of this. I can't tell you how many people have been don't worry, I will help you. I know how to, I have the DVDs. I was going
to buy you the box set. But
I honestly think there are several men in our office who were disappointed that I wasn't just watching them all in one weekend. They're that's just 2 days of constant watching. And I was
it's only 17
yeah, because I didn't have a life.
I got things to do.
I caught up.
Okay.
Waffles Sensei said, Rustleford Shackleton in chat wanted to know, did Hannah Claire make it to Tokyo Drift yet? And I also want to know.
No, I just watched the first one. I'll hopefully watch the second one this weekend. I don't know what the second one's in Miami. I think Tokyo Drift is third.
Too Fast, Too Furious is in Miami. It's a beautiful thing.
Caper2X said, keep the darn cap off, Brett. We are trying to get the other Brett to check you up, but not if you look like a Pokemon player. Howdy, Mary and Hannah Claire.
Howdy.
Yikes.
I like the backwards hat does evoke a certain...
I think you should have to keep it all... If you're only going to keep your hair like this week, you should keep your cap off all week.
You guys keep... Talk about goalpost moving. My goodness.
No,
not fair.
I'm just saying, have your audience weigh in on this, but, that seems fair to me. You can wear a cap
it now?
Do you have to wear it the week that we celebrate your blondness?
Yeah, it's just not fair. Caper2X said, Hannah Claire, don't think of them as sequels, but as chapters in a large book. A visual war and peace, if you please. Don't overdose on popcorn now, counselor.
That's so funny. I mean...
War and Peace.
I don't even know how to respond to that one. I really don't feel like they're chapters, but I respect the effort to assist me with this quest.
Dragon's Talon 1001 said, Hannah Claire, make sure to have Simula Brett give you the money for the popcorn that was donated for your Fast and Furious movie festival.
Also, I want to point out
I did want the whole event to be catered. I felt like if I was going to do a 19-hour binge, I should
That's only
at least
fair.
get food.
The fact that you said Simula Brett that easily was beautiful. I wouldn't have known how to say that.
AK Storm 49 said, Super Chat stopped because we had to hear how Hannah Claire suffered. Haha, I say suffered because I lean toward her opinion.
Thank goodness.
Well, that's too
I
bad.
just feel like when everyone stopped to stay for chat again, I was like, am I boring though? Is this how I get out of this challenge? Because we talked about different, because I'm not a co-host here, I'm just here once a week. If I watched all, 100 of these movies or how many there are, you guys maybe wouldn't get to enjoy it. So we were trying to figure out a way that me watching them once a week seems like it makes more sense.
I wanted to just do them as reviews and pretend they were brand new and not acknowledge the fact.
Well, because he was he came downstairs giggling on Friday, and he was like, "We can do it this way." This man was excited to go blonde because I think you just said such a good day. But then he was like, "You don't understand."
He secretly likes it.
He was the one who was like, "We'll do once a week reviews," and this way Mary has to watch them too. And I was like, "Mary isn't." Mary shouldn't have to do this.
I
was going to buy you the box.
That wasn't my wager.
I was going to buy you the DVD box.
And to be fair, it wasn't my wager either. I'm just a part of this.
You could have...
I don't even have a TV.
Fair enough.
I don't have a streaming service, so...
Clint said, y'all know I love so very much to make it rain, but Hannah is making me feel gloomy like a drizzly day.
Yeah, you're bringing him down with your Fast and the Furious takes.
Look, do you guys want honesty or do you want me to just fake it?
Lie to us, they say. If it's about the news, truth. About Fast and the Furious, lie to me. That's what they're saying.
Absolutely not.
DJ Madiro said, I would like to dedicate Fiona Apple's Criminal to Amber Heard. The lyrics say it all.
My gosh, I have not heard that song in a very, very long time.
I don't know if I know that song.
Rega Tan said, Hannah is a huge fan of her brother. She's a brocon?
What's a brocon?
I don't know. I have no idea what that means.
You?
Oh, yeah, I said that on his birthday on IRL. I, wanted to acknowledge that it was his birthday, but I was working. And so on my sign-off, I was like, happy birthday, brother. I'm a huge fan. I couldn't really come up with what to say.
That's very wholesome.
Yeah.
It's very wholesome.
He's a nice guy.
Huge fan. Nathan Settlemeyer said, Hannah Claire, Tokyo Drift is the best in the series. You'll love it.
See, okay, I have heard mixed things. I've heard either you love Tokyo Drift or Tokyo Drift is where it goes off the rails. So we'll see.
It's definitely very different.
And
it didn't feel like part of
that was a spin if I've ever heard one. Are you a PR agent?
I'm just saying it doesn't have any of that main cast in any of the original main cast in there from the first two.
It's not even in LA.
One more.
I'm not reading that.
Fair enough. Wasn't even bad app.
Brett, if I don't read it, I have an intention behind not reading it.
Okay.
I think it's weird because people see what Bad App's doing, and now they're like, I'm gonna do it too because I need Mary's attention.
You're not Bad App, and even Bad App doesn't get his chats read. So where do you think this is gonna end?
Pay attention to us, Mary.
Where do you think this is gonna end for you?
All right. Well, then, do you want to lead us into our wonderful discussion about House of the Dragon?
Sure.
And the problems that exist when Hollywood
I wouldn't
grooms
say
your children.
It's a wonderful, lighthearted topic.
No, it's the opposite of that.
But I saw this interview from an actress on House of the Dragon in Newsweek where she talked about how an intimacy coordinator was essential to feeling comfortable in the explicit scenes she did for the show.
Yep.
And I was immediately suspicious because I think that intimacy coordinators are the cynical HR reps of the entertainment industry.
Yeah, it's like a weird, modern day, it's even worse than HR.
Yeah, it is. It is worse, isn't it?
It's like at a regular job, HR is to stop the sexual exploitation stuff from happening. This one's like,
this is just making the process streamlined.
Somebody should make a sketch comedy series about like intimacy coordinators in the actual porn industry.
I mean, yeah, does that just mean any and all porn directors are considered intimacy coordinators? Like, basically. Where do you draw the line? Anyway, I'm going to read some quotes from her interview. Her name's Emily Carey. She plays Alicent Hightower in the show. And she had to film a couple of scenes with a 47-year-old co-star who is her husband in the show. And one of them was she had to bathe him, and then another one was a sex scene. So she said she had to read the scripts and take this role while she was still 17, by the way. She played this role for like 3 months while still 17.
I don't like this at all.
And remember what happened on original Game of Thrones with, what's her name? With the girl who grew up on the show and she was a child.
Yeah, I told the story last time. The one with the big eyes.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know her name because I didn't watch the show.
Nothing has changed.
Nope.
So she said, still being 17, the first scene that I read from the show was my sex scene and my intimacy scenes. That includes the scene where I'm bathing the king.
Wait, so there's is the intimacy coordinator only work during the intimate scenes, and is there like a sexual coordinator who only works? She said
that all of those scenes are just under the umbrella of intimate scenes.
I was being like derisive and sarcastic, but it's actually a fair enough question to ask.
She said that she was scared and she was concerned because she hadn't seen Game of Thrones before, and
I don't know
in pre-production watched the show for the first time and saw, of course, that they have a lot of graphic sexual violence in the original series. She wondered if she would have to do scenes like that. Mm-hmm. But then she said that the intimacy coordinator they had on set was really helpful and made it a lot easier than she thought it was going to be.
I also want to point out that I don't buy that she didn't know she would have to do that, because a lot of shows, if they lean heavily into this type of content, they put it in your contract that you have to, that like when the show Power got made, Courtney, the person who created that show, all the actors have nudity clauses in their contracts that say you may have to do this.
Yeah.
You're agreeing to do this. There's no way she didn't know that.
Yeah, and it's insane to me that you can contractually obligate an underage actor to do things that only an adult actor can do.
Do you think that they were trying to specifically give her exposure to like, this is what you'd be happy doing in case she doesn't want the role? Like,
they should steel man that argument. Like, look, if you can't handle doing this, you need to not apply.
Like, they filmed these scenes when she was 17?
No, this was filmed after she turned 18 while they already were filming.
So like, it's all weird, right? But like, if they were like, these are the scenes that your character will do, like, we need you to know right off the bat if you're comfortable, with the acknowledgement that like she was going to be 17 by the time production started.
18 by the time.
And the fact that she was 17 when she signed her contracts means her parents co-signed it, which I find disgusting.
Yep.
Also, which is just so typical of parents in the entertainment industry.
But I guess theoretically they could have been like, cool, well, your parents won't sign it. We'll come back to you in 3 months and give you the contract then.
But she was already filming while still not 18
they
yet.
just couldn't do those scenes until she was
which
18.
is even more like gross, and they're just doing this in broad daylight.
And it is funny too, because they usually go out of their way to not hire people under 18 in a lot of these cases, because it minimizes the amount of hours you can work. Mm-hmm. It severely limits your schedule. So they're like, actually, I don't know if they're not filming in the U.S. That might not matter as much.
There are a lot of countries that have laws about this.
But it would also be, I guess, it would probably be more tied to their union than it would be to the place they're living. Maybe
it's like a mix. Yeah.
So it is interesting to me that they couldn't just find a 19-year-old.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Because they also have a 22-year-old playing a teenager in the show.
The girl
I'm not saying that I totally agree with that either.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying it's possible to cast someone who's
the
adult.
Same thing happened when we were watching Rings of Power. Nori.
Nori's 22 and she plays like a 13, 14-year-old.
She looks like a child.
On Gilmore Girls, the girl who plays Rory's best friend is in her 30s, and she's playing a teenager.
But it's also funny.
Alexis
Okay,
Bledel was like 18, 19.
back in the day, they used to joke about how like the people. I mean, it's still kind of like that. Like the people who play high schoolers never look like high schoolers.
Yeah.
But now it's getting closer because like the joke is like they just live. We live such pampered lives now that you don't age as fast as you did. There's those great videos you can find on like Instagram and TikTok of like it's like a guy's. The camcorder must have been this big to bring it to his local high school in the 90s, and they all look like middle-aged people look like now.
Right, and it's not just how they dressed and their hairstyles either. I think they did genuinely look older.
They aged faster.
I know this. You'll like this one. Her parents are involved in the theater industry themselves. Like,
oh, interesting.
That is very interesting, is it not?
And she identifies as queer.
Yeah, I saw Emily Carey, who identifies with she, they pronouns. Then they continue to use only she, her pronouns throughout the article.
I have a question to ask. I asked you this question earlier. I want to know, what is the benefit? She, her, I get. They, them, I get, even if I would never do it, I guess, whatever. What is the benefit of she, they, and how does it differentiate? Does that completely make her not possible?
Well, I think it means call me they, them, but if and it's optional, but if you call me she, her, it's still frowned upon.
So the her is implied in the she?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the same tense, right?
Yes.
Like she, her, they, them. So I think they're saying that she can be she, her / they, them, and it's all acceptable.
But it's a little bit less woke to call her she,
I think
her.
it's like, yeah, I use cisgender pronouns, but like I'm okay with being gender non-binary.
The same thing happened with Demi Lovato when she added she, her back to her pronouns. All the articles that went out of their way to refer to her as they, them immediately switched back to referring to her as she, her, because it's just how the language works.
It's so hard to write constantly in they, them pronouns about a singular person.
Yep.
It's like a very difficult challenge. I don't like.
Well, I really do believe.
Someone's gonna clip this clip of me one day and be like, "She was always a bad journalist." I stand by it.
I believe they do it. I believe that there's maybe not all of them, and a lot of the kids who've just been raised into this sort of ideology see it as actually who they are. But I think that a lot of the people early on were a lot less honest in their intentions, and I think they like making it harder on other people. I think just the fact that you can limit. We've done a couple of topics where I've had to stop talking about someone because I kept screwing it up, and so I just gave up on talking about it. I think they enjoy the control.
Well, this is really besides the point, but I can see why someone raised by people in like theater and the film industry would
explain what her parents do. And Mary's like, I understand why they signed the contract now.
Yeah,
pulling it back.
But to be fair, what I mean is that like if
thank you,
she gets this contract, she's like, I really want to do this job. I'm going to be 18 soon anyways. If they're already in the industry, they're like, yes, huge deal, good for your career, better than protecting you. More important, like,
it's just complete permission for everything.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Many times did your heads break on Friday?
Look at that.
The sound.
Beautiful entertainment, not an intimacy
Weirdly,
coordinator.
Hearing that 26 times in a row did not faze me at all. I'm just like,
Did you get good about talking through it, or did you get as distracted as I do every time?
I don't think it distracts me.
I talk right through it now.
but
like, I just want to point out, no intimacy coordinator needed. Plenty of entertainment value here.
Yes.
So to be fair, we're all sitting like very far apart from one another.
That's a fair point.
It's like we don't even need one because the furniture is our intimacy.
So there was this quote from her interview that I wanted to read because it's especially insidious. She said, "It was empowering being on that set as a young girl and being treated the same as all of these very established men." And I just want to point out, I don't think that a teenage girl on a set should be treated the same way as a middle-aged man with an established career. And if she is being treated the same way, it's disingenuous.
And nefarious.
It's supposed to inflate her ego so that she's distracted from her natural discomfort at the idea of simulating sex on screen.
Yeah, also,
in front of millions of people.
There is an implication here that she is supposed to behave like a middle-aged established man. Like,
and I can just see this down the line turning into another one of these stories that is like, at the time I thought it was a good idea, but actually, like, I was pressured into it. I wasn't comfortable, blah, blah, blah.
As you know, is my biggest
Which
pet
the intimacy
peeve.
coordinator is supposed to mitigate the risk of that happening.
The intimacy coordinator, I think, really is supposed to cover the liability of the theater production company.
Yeah, they're not there to make them feel more comfortable.
It's
they're
like when
that was essentially
like,
my take.
When a company's like, hey, can you talk to our lawyer? Like, it's to protect the company because that's who pays the lawyer's bills.
Yeah. I said intimacy coordinators are not inherently more compassionate than an HR rep because their goal is to streamline the process of this scene getting filmed, and if you make it difficult, you will get replaced. And secondly, to avoid liability or PR issues for the company.
And I want to know, are there male intimacy coordinators? I would bet.
You guessed that there might be if they're gay.
I actually don't believe that there will be straight male intimacy coordinators. I can see the industry seeing it as too much of a problem or liability. They won't want to like it would.
I just don't think there would be enough work for a straight male intimacy coordinator because I think
with the amount of shows on TV right now that any scene, it doesn't have to be Game of Thrones, it doesn't have to be nudity to require.
This is like really unfair, but I think it is the way Hollywood works. I think straight men are supposed to be like, you know, they like doing sex scenes. It makes them feel cool and like they don't have the same problems that women have. So I think we are less likely to employ straight male, like basically out of insensitivity, we are less likely to employ straight male intimacy coordinators.
Well, yeah, that's my conclusion too. I think it's because I made the comment to you. I said, look, the age difference makes a huge part of this. But imagine they're closer in age, right? And the intimacy coordinator is a woman, and the director is a woman, and the other person is a woman. Does his discomfort? Maybe the guy is not the most forthcoming person. I said the guy who plays Patty in the show, he's not the most he's a pretty droopy looking dude. What if the guy's body conscious, self-conscious about how he looks, self-conscious about doing the scene? That's not unheard of.
But he's also expected to be more self-aware and aware of what his sensitivities are compared to a teenager.
No, the example I'm saying, I understand about this actor. I'm saying, but imagine now we take two actors that are closer in age. Is the guy just supposed to be like, what if I want a guy to talk about with this stuff? Or is he supposed to just be like, sorry, too bad. You have to both be accommodating and take it like a champ.
Because the truth is that the liabilities that have occurred before are usually when the woman expresses she was uncomfortable.
Unless
in
you're
a
Olivia
scene.
Wilde and Harry Styles, and then she's like, bow chicka wow wow. And
well, she started directing sexual scenes between her boyfriend and a woman she hated. So I don't know what that was about.
How often do you guys talk about all of the Don't Worry Darling stuff?
We did
a couple of episodes we talked about it. It's kind of blown over. I don't think anyone's gonna watch the film.
I like how much attention Chris Pine is getting as like someone who's clearly miserable.
I just think it's fair to point out that like your focus is on how clearly exploitative this is. I'm just making a minor sidebar that I think the guy should have a right to feel discomfort and not be. But we can go back.
Yeah, but it's you only need to point that out because these scenes are inherently uncomfortable to film, and if you become adept at compartmentalizing your feelings enough to be able to film them often and not feel a certain type of way about it. Yeah. That's because you are like a unique outlier, not, you know what I mean? Like as an entertainer,
I remember
that would make you an outlier in that way. And I don't think that these scenes should even be on TV, to be totally honest, even if they're framed as something negative. I don't think that's the point. It shouldn't be on screen at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, I tend to fall more in the category of like, at least like maybe it's called just like take what you can get from the degeneracy that is Hollywood. I'm like, well, at least they're portraying the bad behavior.
If you had a slogan, it would be take what you can get.
Like at least they're portraying the bad behavior as bad behavior. At least we've got that going for us.
There are still certain things that would be accurate to medieval Europe that they don't show. So you draw a line somewhere, you have to.
I do also want to point out, I remember reading a story a long time ago that was really interesting. It might have been on the set of True Detective, but they were talking about how they were in it was supposed to be a scene similar to like one of these scenes where it's like they're in like a brothel or something, and there's a lot of people like having sex, and they hired actual porn performers to do like the background roles, like the non-speaking roles in it. And they said that the actors were shocked when they're like, okay, time to get naked, and all the porn performers were like, dun, 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 and just standing around nude, and all the regular actors.
Because they're much more comfortable with it.
Yeah, and all the regular actors were like, this is not normal. Because, like you said, they've developed, it's like a scab that's formed over, and they've developed that resistance to the awkwardness that should be naturally felt in that position, right? But now Hollywood seems to be encroaching more and more on that territory and seems to want to make it more about being comfortable in a situation that's inherently not supposed to be comfortable.
And it's also about pushing the boundaries of viewers who see incest on screen in House of the Dragon. Like, there are people shipping a blood niece and uncle on this show.
I have that.
They
Are they related?
Yes.
I don't really follow the show, so I don't know.
So they have
the actress I was just talking about. She was not the niece in the show. There was a different actress.
Millie Alcock's character.
Yes, and Matt Smith. Yeah. They're related in the show, and they had a kiss scene, an incestuous kiss scene at a brothel in the show, and people are shipping this like it's a normal couple. Don't tell me you're framing it as bad when the viewers are actually debating whether these two characters are good for each other, and they're related by blood in the show.
Deviant art and in Tumblr have seeped into the real world.
It's not even just Tumblr and Deviant art. This is mainstream. It's in porn. It's in now like a mainstream television show that millions of households are watching. So
it says, love how people were disgusted by Jaime and Cersei, but are totally on board for some uncle-niece incest, and Daemon should be treated as a groomer because she always wanted it. She also wanted it has been a cop-out for a lot of older men using teenage girls. I also want to point out that we have an epidemic of like women teachers who get away with like it's sexual assault when a male teacher assaults a female student, but when a female teacher assaults a male student, it's sexual misconduct. Mm-hmm. They always soften the language, so it is not unique to any one gender.
You know what's more interesting? How the media has a really hard time talking about when female teachers become sexually involved with underage female minors.
Oh wow!
There's been a couple of cases of this, and the media does not know what to do with this kind of conversation, so they try to ignore it.
Yeah,
there was a scene in.
It's all abuse, just to be clear.
There's a scene in the movie, Not Another Teen Movie, where they're like, did you guys ever see Cruel Intentions? Mm-mm. Well, in Cruel Intentions, Ryan Phillippe and Sarah Michelle Gellar's character are like a stepbrother and sister, and it's like a creepy, dangerous liaisons type thing where she's like trying to get him to do something to her, and her reward to him is that he can finally have sex with her. And then in Not Another Teen Movie, they make the characters related, and the girl keeps going after the guy played by Chris Evans, and he's constantly like, "Why are you doing this? This is freaking gross." And then finally in one scene, he's like, "But we're related." She goes, "Only by blood." It's a comedy.
Weird. It was supposed to be a joke.
It was a joke, but it just time kept
treat
going.
Like a superhero movie. Yeah, it makes sense.
Exactly, perfect. Yeah, it was that. By the way, if anybody here has not seen Not Another Teen Movie, everyone should see that. That was a fantastic time.
I did see that at one point.
Comedies were allowed to be funny. It
was okay. I don't know.
I've never seen it.
You gotta see it. There's the hippie album.
I have a lot to do in terms of watching movies.
Yes,
I can't really take any other requests right now.
So it says your daughter was spotted at a whorehouse, Mike King. So what? With her uncle. And then it says 404 bad connection.
Also in the scene, he ditches her at the brothel and she has to go home.
So he left her. So she had to
and
walk. And
then she loses her virginity right after that to like her. He's like a guy that guards
the guy that guards her. Yep.
At
I remember
night.
that scene.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, I don't know. I just don't think that things like this should be on TV.
Amen.
And what's the solution? Certainly Hollywood isn't going to get any less degenerate. The solution, in my opinion, would be decency laws. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but that's my opinion.
Funny how they always, like, Hollywood is horrible at show, don't tell, except when it's this stuff. Like Hollywood is horrible at show don't tell, except for when they actually want to show that.
So it's clearly intentional.
These scenes would be the perfect place to you would rather they didn't do the storyline at all. I'm saying you can do the storyline, but maybe implied would work better.
No, they can do a storyline, but they don't have to show everything like that.
You could imply it.
I don't think that they should be barred from having a storyline.
So maybe the goal here would be to imply what happened rather than actually show it.
That is basically what was done when we did have decency laws like that. So it's not impossible. It's not even difficult, actually.
All right. Hannah Claire, what do you think?
Well, I've only seen the first episode of this, and I didn't watch Game of Thrones, so I can't comment on all of it. I think that the question of should there or should there not be intimacy coordinators is hard to unpack because, unless suddenly decency laws are introduced tomorrow.
Or maybe the idea is to be more open and honest about what an intimacy coordinator's purpose actually is, and it's not to make the actors feel more comfortable. It's to cover up liability for the studios.
But, then you could say, if we had decency laws, they wouldn't need to do that because that wouldn't be there. I think part of it is this. There's no way for Game of Thrones to tell its story without the, heavy depiction of sex.
It's part of the...
That's part of the brand.
And violence.
And, I don't personally feel like I need to watch it. Partially because I'm not interested in the plotline. Also partially because, I don't know. Sometimes when you think about, older directors, those, even if they try to make it as small a set as possible during sex scenes, there's still a guy operating a boom mic and there's still everyone's PR agents and all of that feels creepy to me. And so the same way that you wouldn't consume other content that actively puts people at risk in order to make it, I don't feel the need to suddenly get into this knowing what I know about it. Yeah. If you like Game of Thrones, you're going to watch this regardless of how old the actress was when you watch it. You're not very few people are going to take a moral stance on this.
Fair point.
But that's my thoughts.
Super chats.
Clint said, I'm going to try again tomorrow. Be well, Mary and Brett. Try again what?
Try again what? Stay. Come back.
I don't know what you mean.
We want you here.
Dragon Stallion 1001 said, so are intimacy coordinators like the devil on the shoulder while the HR rep is supposed to be the angel?
They're both just
I think they're both devils.
To protect the studio.
Yeah.
Bad App said, I've been summoned. My spidey sense was tingling.
I'm surprised there isn't a spidey emoji. I suppose that would be copyrighted.
I just think Mary going you're not Bad App. He's going to be like, so she does pay attention to me. She likes me.
Right. I've messed up. Melanie Curvone said, just got done listening to the 200th episode. Congrats, guys. Looking good with the blonde locks, Brett. Also, Hannah Claire, I feel bad for you. Can't stand those effing Fast and Furious movies. LOL.
I would have called it a bot if she hadn't said something nice about my hair. So
I think Brett should have to keep his blonde hair until I finish.
No.
That's only fair.
Nope.
As long as we're all suffering.
Okay,
you'll
fine.
throw me a Fast and Furious weekend and cater it.
Then how about this? You have to watch the Fast and Furious by the time I cut my hair, which is then my choice. So you're on the deadline.
No, because mine is a committed 17 hours that I have to
have
fit
this
into
every
my life
hour
somehow.
of the day.
Yeah,
it doesn't go away.
And you look great. Everyone is commiserating with me, and they're like, Brett, you look gorgeous, blonde. I don't understand why you're going to change it.
The blonde and the furious.
Hobbit said, Tim says Civil War, I say culture war. They want to normalize this behavior and erode any form of good morals in the culture, making kids into drones.
And empty consumers. I still believe it. I don't remember if it was you or somebody here that made that comment that said, lonely people consume more media. And I really do think that that's part of it. Is
that was Dane.
If we isolate everyone and we aren't engaging in meaningful relationships, we don't have great careers, we don't have a family to go home to after having a day at your job, that you're a lot more likely to just fill those empty spaces with consumable media. And it does feel like I believe that Bob Chapek is in a dark room going, we are going to keep them from getting married so they will buy my latest crappy Disney remake.
Well, no. I don't think we'll keep them from getting married. I think it's we're gonna make it so that shows come out when other people would be going to a Bible study or joining a book club or golfing with their friends or like doing whatever else. Like they want you to be at home in front of your TV instead of like interacting with other people.
Yeah.
And releasing movies to streaming instead of movie theaters is also part of that.
Well, we don't want them going outside. It's dangerous.
We wouldn't want consuming media to ever be a communal hobby,
experience.
right?
Not to mention you're only allowed to have one opinion on media now anyways, because it's also polarized. Like, oh, you didn't like the new trailer for Little Mermaid? Well, you must be a racist, sexist, bigoted homophobe.
Yeah.
I don't know
I don't know how you'd be
a
homophobe,
but you are a mermaid.
Somehow.
You are a mermaidophobe.
Yeah.
And you are anti-mermaid, and that is a bad thing. So.
Rob Lee said she needed to look like the adult version. What does that mean?
I'm not sure.
Who's she?
She needs to look at the adult version.
Oh, because they hired in it because they're doing a time jump in the show.
Oh, so she has to look like the girl,
like the actress who's going to portray the adult version of that character. They're talking about the 17-year-old
actress. Like, why go?
I still think they could have gotten a 19-year-old that could still look fairly close to the adult version.
Or recast if you really want this young actress. Either wait till she's the right age or recast the adult version.
Yeah. Waffle Sensei said, I've seen it before. A couple Critical Role actors did he/they for their D&D characters. The purpose of she/they means I have always gone by she and I'm not gay, but I want to be part of the cult.
I didn't get that memo, but I'm glad I got the answer. Thank
Wow.
you. Thank you, Waffles. Like I said, it's it all feels like a weird form of like kind of cultural enforcement done through like subversive means. Like you have to follow the rules or else, but we don't have to tell you that. You should just know.
Mm-hmm. So. Bad App, I'm not reading that. 1,000 Foot Deep End said the Blonde and the Furious. More like what?
The Bad App one is really funny. You don't have to read it, but I'm picturing that in Tyrese's voice, and I'm getting great joy out of it.
I don't want to know.
1,000 Foot Deep End said the Blonde and the Furious. More like the Blonde is furious.
I think that's true.
Well, there's two blondes here, so.
I mean, Hannah Claire's a little bit blonde too.
Yeah, there's some blonde.
So. An ambiguous hair color. I think that
she's blonde/they.
I'm blonde/ who even knows. I think that Brett is feeling a little more fiery with the blonde. I do want to point that out.
I am somehow standing up for myself more because of
must be that little bit of orange.
What if we did flames when we get like a certain number? Like a ring of flames around your head?
People also suggested cheetah print.
No, not happening.
We could do zebra stripes.
How about we just go back to dark brown? How about that?
The thing is, you've already put in this legwork. Like next time when we have to dye our color, we're gonna have to like
why
bleach
throw
it
away
and
your
then
progress?
Like you might as well ride this out for a little while.
Guys, we're gonna move on. We're gonna talk about save
I will absolutely never move on from the fact that you bleached your head because you got so many crisis parties. Like,
well, hey,
my best professional accomplishment.
It meant the world to me that we were able to accomplish that, and that we were able to have such an amazing 200 episodes. And arguably, I think 201 was incredible too. We had a really good time yesterday. So you got to make good on your word.
Wow,
but
he went blonde and suddenly he's having all good days. Interesting. And he wants to go back.
I have heard that
and now you have the perfect excuse for any time that you make some kind of blunder. You're blonde now.
It's like and plus I can just have fun all the time. I don't have to have bad times.
They do have more fun.
Yeah, okay. All right, guys, we're going to talk about the Queen and censorship. It says Sky TV cuts Queen Elizabeth II related jokes from last week tonight with John Oliver in the UK. Does this upset you guys? Do you find this
that
shocking?
He got cut off or his jokes?
That he got cut. It's funny.
I'm conflicted because I'm very authoritarian.
Yes,
and
you are.
I kind of lean a little bit pro censorship sometimes. Like it's a toss up for me. I don't like John Oliver.
Yeah.
Well, so my personal prejudice against John Oliver also is factored in. I think it might be based.
What's funny is like when there was somebody here, they were doing a story and me and Mary were talking about how different me and Mary are. We really are very
like we were saying we disagree on like 99%
almost
of things.
Everything. And it's what makes this work. I truly do believe that I do not think that censorship is the right idea, but on the same respect, I kind of understand that the Queen matters to England in a way that is unique that I don't know if we would really.
In a way that the president doesn't matter personally to American citizens.
Even then, I think they would like.
Their monarchy also takes a place similar to pop culture here.
Exactly. So
I think it's more complicated than equating it to pop culture here. I already did this rant once. Since Queen's death. Yeah, I did it on IRL, but I'll do it again for you guys. America has no.
Oh, is IRL that show that covers politics?
It's like this new thing we're launching.
We like started this news show.
Yeah.
I've heard that because like
I go on sometimes to help them out.
So we try to stay out of current events so that we don't step in their territory.
Sometimes the guy that hosts that show talks about pop culture,
and we kind of have to reprimand him.
I will say their lighting is not as cool as this. You really got to give them some notes.
Well, I mean, they're
we got to get more funding for their studio. They're kind of struggling, but you know what? They're doing a lot with a little. They're doing a lot with a little, and we really support them. So go subscribe over there, guys.
Very proud.
Anyways, okay, so I feel, the monarchy in the UK is a complicated history, and I am not here to defend it in all of its glory and integrity or whatever else. Like, there are mistakes and it's complicated, and also I don't think every British
the host on that other podcast says it's complicated a lot, so that makes sense.
But the Queen is representational, not just of, I wouldn't say pop culture. Pop culture is more of the current year. The monarchy is representational of of British history as well as British culture that has really dramatically changed, especially during her 70-year reign.
Well, and also, I would point out, I don't think it's necessarily equated to pop culture. When I think of when American media censors stuff like this, it usually has to do with actual national tragedy, right? So something similar to this. Like when I remember on episodes of Bones, there was like, I believe Texas Tech happened, and there was an incident involving that episode they were doing at a college. They censored the episode. The show Numbers had a show involving like a major train collision, and then just that week there was a major train collision in California. They stopped that episode. That's not unheard of to have stuff.
No.
Wait, like they don't usually censor it completely. They just hold it for a period of time and then come back to it.
There are a lot of anti-monarchy protesters who are demonstrating at these public events that, like, so the Queen was, her casket was at a cathedral in Scotland. It got moved to London today. And there have been anti-monarchy protesters there the whole time who, like, the government specifically is like, we want to respect your right to freedom of expression, but we also can't tolerate it if it's intervening in like these proceedings, right?
Do they even have an equivalent to a First Amendment there?
They don't have the right to free speech the way we have it. There are like,
their social media rules are awful.
Yeah, we have the right to free speech. It's spelled out. It's guaranteed. There are rights to like free expression, and there's a right to like hold your own opinion, but it's not as concrete as American free. It's the same way with Canada, right? Canada doesn't have an absolute right to free speech, but they do have some rights to free expression and free opinion. People don't equate themselves to being in communist China. With John Oliver, and again, I don't watch his show. I loved his stand-up way back in the day. I thought it was really funny, but then he got super political, and I think he's not that interesting. Just frankly, like, I don't think his jokes are that good.
His jokes about the Queen also weren't that edgy or even funny.
He said,
we have to start with the UK, which is clearly still reeling from the shocking death of a 96-year-old woman from natural causes. But
it, like, he has not been funny for a long time.
I don't know.
I also think that, like, even if he doesn't care about it, like, the death of the Queen is a huge deal to, like, BBC suspended all of its programming because they knew they'd have to cover this nonstop. British school children have 10 days of school off because they're in national mourning. And so,
but really that doesn't apply to people who have like real blue collar jobs to do.
There are a lot of businesses that give time off during this because it's unprecedented. It's a huge deal. I can't speak to all of it because I'm not there, but
it's sort of like essential workers.
They always nobody gets more screwed than the essential workers.
Yeah. So what I would say about like John Oliver's comments are just basically that it shows that he is trying to appeal to an American audience and not to a British audience. I think that ultimately he feels like his popularity and his paycheck gets cut from Hollywood because there are a lot of Americans who are like, yeah, I get it. She was old and she died, but like, why are you guys so upset? And I think it's because we don't have an equivalent head of state in the United States the way that the British government has the monarchy. And I also think so many people in England and in the countries that are affected by this recognize that like this is the end to a huge portion of history. Like the modern monarchy dies with Queen Elizabeth.
So it says that he also makes reference to like Liz Truss. He says the other thing that they're going through is they have to have Liz Truss in charge of the Conservative Party that she took over there. But here's some of the responses.
But that's like the thing. It's so clear he's not a member of the Conservative Party. Like, oh, cool. Like you're just like every other late night host in America who's clearly a liberal. Yeah. Like this is not. He's not interesting. He's not funny. That's why like his jokes aren't offensive because they're just not that good.
So it says. So this is some of the Twitter responses. It says, "Don't censor my last week tonight. I am British. I am a monarchist, and I can take a joke. If John if John Oliver wants to have an intelligent, jovial, factual opinion about our queen, I want to hear it for F's sake. The coverage and forced mourning here is getting real out of hand." So that's categorized as forced.
But is it really forced mourning?
It's not. That's the thing. Like there are huge crowds everywhere gathering to interact with the monarchy and the representation of the monarchy, to attend funeral services, to in some way acknowledge. This is also happening in Canada. This is also happening in Australia. Like, I get that you don't like the monarchy, and I welcome you to have your own opinions on it, but like, John Oliver is not suffering because this one joke didn't make it through, and he's also not that good. So if he needed this one joke to make it through, you can see that his career is not super successful.
It sounds like from this tweet that they had cut off his show early before.
They edited it in a way that was clear that they edited it at the last minute, which means that it was probably more noticeable than if they had time to polish it, the edits.
What did they edit out?
The jokes. They edited out the jokes about the queen from the segment.
Well, they're making it sound like Sky had cut off the show before this happened.
Oh, I don't know. So
they said, please do not censor Last Week Tonight with John Oliver again, just because he says a few edgy things.
Oh, I did. I found an article before that said he had made comments about the queen before that he had been censored.
But I take it as like, well, I mean, again, like I should look into this because I don't actually know, but like, I think there are legal protections to what you're allowed to say publicly about the queen, or like what you're allowed to publish. But again, because they don't have the absolute right to free press or freedom of speech in the UK.
But they also,
but I don't have the answer for you right now.
A lot of them here are pointing out that there's a very obvious edit in it. The funny thing is, it reminds me back, and this is a completely ridiculous comparison, but the UK used to have their own, like they would broadcast WWE wrestling or WWF wrestling, it would have been back in the day. And they had different standards for what was considered appropriate for television as far as violence would go. Right? So if somebody in America, you could watch a professional wrestler take a metal folding chair and just absolutely destroy a dude in the head with the chair. When you would watch the UK version, they would do these hilarious edits where they would just sort of freeze the video and then it would pick back up after the chair shot happened. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize it till I was older, but it wasn't just my TV being a piece of crap. Or the video I recorded being crappy. It was actually the network editing these segments so that you couldn't see it happen. Mm-hmm. Sometimes those are the only versions you can find now if you want to see certain things that aired like in the UK. You can't find the American version of it, or there is no American broadcast version of it. So you see these hilarious ones where they're just edited in a way that was never been done today. And now they have all their now you have to watch Game of Thrones with the incest and and all this awful stuff. But back in the day,
that's totally fine now.
Yeah, but two dudes, grown men, hitting each other in the head with chairs.
It's in a choreographed fight.
Hey.
It's real.
We're not going to get into...
It's real.
Pro wrestling is incredible.
It's real.
It's incredible.
It's real.
So legalities aside, and whether or not they have a right to free speech in the UK, do you guys think this was morally justified?
I don't think they should have edited it. I think they should have left it. Personally, I understand on the authoritarian tip that you and you're not a fan of John Oliver. I have no opinion of John Oliver, and I think all late night show hosts are kind of interchangeable. We're going to talk about that a little bit later with Jimmy Kimmel and the fact that they're all kind of lame. But I would have rather seen them. I think there's something to be said about being able to make like we talk about dark humor here a lot. I've had jokes made at my expense and made jokes at other people's expense. And I think being able to laugh in a time when something has happened, and I to call those jokes anything close to edgy is a hilarious misinterpretation.
From the jokes I've seen from him about this subject, like they don't seem edgy, and like I don't really necessarily think they were worth
edgy in the fact that they talked about it at all.
I do think that like if we're gonna talk about morality, we have to give cultural context there, and from my understanding, like disparaging the monarchy is actually antithetical to traditional British values, but even when you disagree with it.
Do those values exist anymore, and are they widely shared anymore?
See, that's a really interesting to talk about, because so much of British cultural identity shifted under Queen Elizabeth's reign, and she has been in some ways critiqued for going back on some of the traditional British customs and standards. Like if the British monarchy is supposed to be representational of like ultimate idealized culture, then the monarchy fails all the time, right? But I don't feel bad for John Oliver. I don't think this joke was that edgy. I also recognize that like for an American audience, the idea that they would censor a joke is upsetting, but like censorship is alive and well in more countries, and in some ways it encroaches in America. Like I think we should be aware that this does happen, and our right to free speech is unique to American culture.
And I think in America it's just better hidden when it happens.
Oh, the censorship is still here. It's just
underhanded and corporatized and whatever.
One of the comments,
that's a whole other
discussion. One of the comments is, I hate monarchies, but Americans really are disrespectful to everyone and have no decorum. This was a really bad timing to make jokes about the death of a 96-year-old woman. Geez, people,
he's literally British though.
And plus it's like,
that doesn't like make it.
And if he's trying to appeal to an American audience, then he's talking about British politics, which the American audience has no clue about.
But that's what I mean. Like that's why I think his response being like there are late night hosts who handle challenges and tragedies that they maybe don't totally agree with, like with a more neutral tone. Like the fact that he was like, I'm gonna make a joke about how it's ridiculous that we're so upset that like an old lady died. Like to me, that tells you that he is targeting Americans, because Americans, and I don't think they're being insensitive, just don't feel the weight of this the same way that British people do.
It's why globalist entertainment will never work, because we don't have shared values and we don't have shared experiences. I also want to point out, do you remember when they had when Trump was there and they had the big baby, like overblown baby parade?
Yeah.
So to call Americans poor of decorum, I think that thanks to the internet and just changing morals in society, I don't think a lack of decorum is unique to the United States.
And I will say, in John Oliver's benefit, there were way worse comments made about her. I mean, I don't know.
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
Like this is really not that bad.
And about King Charles.
Yeah.
This to me, it was more about the censorship to me, because
I also think a late night host should be able to joke, because like when I see like Jimmy Kimmel in tears again,
I could if I never had to see Jimmy Kimmel in tears.
It's sort of like Jimmy Kimmel is the Jordan Peterson of late night, except he has none of the actual vulnerability and like history, like personal history to act that way.
Also,
I don't think late night should have that somber attitude to it.
I just don't really believe in late night TV, I guess. So
at all.
I just don't like.
It has such a long history.
Sure, but like it's dead. They're all doing exactly the same thing, and they're all identical. You could intercut their segments, and for the most part, you get the same show.
Because they don't want laughter; they want clapter. Also, I want to point out, wasn't the traditional purpose of a court jester to be the only one that could mock the king, right? So the idea that the court jester is the only one that can mock the king. So isn't that kind of, if we were treating this job in its traditional role, and that's what he is as a late night entertainer, he is a court jester.
But he's like a court jester for the public media. He's not a court jester for the monarchy.
But I'm just saying, like if we were to look at it in that role. But that's like an important distinction,
right? Because he doesn't actually fit in that role. He's a court jester for the public, but he has actually no.
But it wasn't the monarchy that censored him. It was a corporate TV network.
Yeah, which I would point out, that's the government of England and not the state of England.
I'm sorry, not the Sun. The what was it?
Or
Thank you.
it's corporate
Sky.
enterprise.
That's what I'm saying. Sky Media is not a government institution.
Which,
it's,
like,
it's a private. It's not BBC.
Yeah,
it's a
but
private
they're also
corporation.
beholden to their laws.
So it is interesting to me that that where these.
I mean,
things
what
diverge.
you might hear from that is that someone on the executive team of Sky Media was like, "That's inappropriate. I don't want to air that." I mean, that's them acting out of morals.
Okay. All right. Let's do some super chats.
We managed to get a lot of that story.
Yeah.
Considering the joke is so not interesting.
It is
Yeah,
not. The
John
joke was-
Oliver is like one of the least interesting.
He even
people to
looks
talk
boring.
about.
He looks
He's
legitimately
so
boring.
Boring.
He looks
Late night
like,
is dead. You're right.
He looks like somebody who like you could give the most he could have the most interesting story in the world, and you would either not believe him or still fall asleep while he told it to you.
I don't know how the ecosystem of both daytime and late night television is still going, because streaming is where TV is right now, and like who watches Seth Meyers? Who watches Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon?
Greg Gutfeld.
I think
like-
a lot of those people actually need YouTube clips to go viral to stay relevant. Like they are dependent on the internet.
Gutfeld is like destroying all of them in the ratings, and he gets none of the. It's an interesting push on like the idea that kind of like when we talked about how Eric D. July has this gazillion-dollar campaign for a comic book, but if you were looking at mainstream comic sites, you would have no knowledge that that was going on. Gutfeld is kind of the same thing for late night. Like he's got these huge ratings, but you would never know who he was unless you were in that audience because they just don't talk about him.
Let's go to super chats.
So
Bad App said, "Stop hitting on me. I'm really shy." Okay.
Well, yes.
No one believes you, you weirdo.
Okay. Walker Texas Danger said, "Brett King, don't let these girls sweet talk you into coloring your hair. You've suffered for fashion and you've suffered enough."
I don't think he's suffering.
That was beautiful. That was beautifully phrased. I want to put that on a shirt.
Brett is not suffering.
Especially that last sentence. You've suffered for fashion and you've suffered enough.
Guys, no. Brett is not suffering. I just
No, guys, this is the truth. He secretly loves it.
He doesn't even secretly. I think he kind of obviously
If
loves
you
it.
check the video that will be going up at 6 p.m., you can clearly see that it's not enjoyment on my face.
We'll see.
It is pure.
We'll see.
I didn't like it at all. I'm grumpy.
That's exactly right. That's
You're smiling. You love being blonde.
I do not.
He asked me for tips on how to maintain it. Like, come
Right?
on.
I asked you on tips on how to get it.
He's asking for product recommendations.
This guy's out of control. He loves it.
It's not. I'm out of control. I see how it is.
Hobbit said, #stand with Brett.
That's what I'm talking about.
Wow.
With the blonde, right?
I've got
That's what
my
you
own.
mean.
I've got my own hashtag now. I've made it.
They're saying that they like you blonde.
Stand with
yes?
blonde.
Yeah.
Bobcat said, "If we're dyeing his head again, we have to go with platinum blonde so that Tim goes snowblind when he next comes into the office."
That's a good. Or I'm like, I can go whenever I go on IRL next. They have to change the white balance in the shutter on the camera.
So you do want to bleach it again?
No.
Waffle Sensei said, "Blondes have more fun because ignorance is bliss."
Isn't that a beautiful thing? I wish that was allowed to be sometimes. Reading all this stuff, you wish you were more ignorant of everything that's going on.
Taryn Jones said, "In Sleeping with the Enemy, when she walked out of the ocean in only a shirt and underwear, Julia Roberts insisted that any crew present also take off their pants. Fast forward 30 years, everybody naked."
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think that was fair.
Creepy. Don't like it.
I don't think that was fair of Julia Roberts to ask that of the crew. The crew's not making your money. They didn't sign up for this. Bite me, you rich snobbish.
It's sort of like when you're public speaking, you gotta imagine everybody in their underwear.
I get what she was going for, but I don't think Brett's right. Like, I don't think it actually achieves the
You're
ends that
making
she-
the
Yeah.
money to put yourself in that position.
Yeah.
You snob. You snuck.
Like, she should've
I
just-
hate celebrities.
She should have been
sometimes,
like
man.
the executives at the studio who are making money off of this shot. You come here and stand in your underwear while I do this.
Fair
Like,
enough. Fair
not-
enough.
Like, not necessarily the lighting guy.
That is a good comp. Yeah, I don't want to see the boom operator
like,
with no pants on.
I get what she's saying. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm the one naked person, but like they intentionally did not become people in front of the camera. They specifically chose being off camera.
yeah.
Exactly.
Waffle Sensei said, "Timcast IRL is trying to copy your show format. Sue them."
What you should do is tonight.
Well, we wish them the best
you should
of luck,
Send them,
you
you
know?
should send them some comments and tell them that there's this great show that has put you guys out.
at
Well,
3
there.
o'clock.
look, we try not to shout out Timcast IRL too much on the show because we want them to succeed on their own without our help.
We don't want to have to really give them the hand ups, not handouts, right?
Yeah,
So,
we want their numbers to be organic.
but
That's how growth works on
We're
YouTube.
fine with you super chatting them to tell them how great we are. Though.
And definitely request a money gun. I mean, I feel like they should come up with their own version, but remember, you can actually interact with us. Like, it's up to Timcast IRL if they're going to read your comments.
They're going to have to figure that out for themselves one day when they've gotten to where they need to be.
Yeah.
But best of luck. Like,
and we hope that they get bigger than us someday. Honestly.
Exactly.
They're scrappy, like we really appreciate how hard they're working.
That's what it's all about. This is grassroots.
They've got that can-do spirit.
Yeah.
They work really hard.
Caper 2X said Oliver ought to meet the executioner in the tower, Hannah Clara Brimlow. I read once that we place in the flag here what Brits place in the monarchy over there. No, we don't.
I kind of get what you're saying, though, because the flag is like representational of values. That's why some people get so offended when you like leave out in the rain, or like some people feel really strongly you shouldn't wear.
There are technically laws about that.
Yeah, there's all kinds of laws,
but they're not enforced. I don't think I've ever seen them enforced.
I remember
some people enforce them more than others. I think it's like people aren't. We used to be more aware of flag code, like just generally in the population, and I feel like we're not.
I'm gonna be honest here. I love watching videos on Instagram and TikTok where people are filming themselves with the front camera and there's a flag in the background and it's flipped, so the flag is they've clearly had it right, but when the video's flipped because they're looking at it from the
like in the
front
selfie camera,
it's flipped the wrong way, and then I go to the comment section to see the inevitable person who says your flag is hanging the wrong way. I love that stuff because I am soulless.
So it is an interesting comparison.
Flag code, is that like you can't have it on your shoes or something?
Yeah, there are actually all kinds of rules governing like when we are supposed to.
It's
like,
not supposed
you're
to be on
not
clothes.
supposed to wear it on clothes, so your pajama bottoms are in violation.
Do you understand that, Old Navy? That's a problem.
And Gap, it was the two of them that used to put it on everything.
But also like the direction you hang the flag is very important.
Like weather is one of the like you're not supposed to leave it out in like bad weather, things like that. Obviously, it's like I think the big one everyone knows is like it's not supposed to touch the ground. I think that's an interesting comparison.
You're not supposed to burn it.
Yes.
No, you're allowed to burn it.
You're allowed
Legally,
to burn
that's
it. Why?
under free speech.
Yeah, it's a form of free speech.
It's a form
but
of
it's not supposed to touch the ground.
Huh.
Funny how that works.
Cool.
But it is obviously considered like an act of anti-American sentiment when you burn it.
Zakainen said, not putting carts back is not enough. We need to be anti-cart and take carts that were put away and set them free. Eat it, society.
I don't
Are you
think
pro-basket? Where does that fall in this
I don't think
storyline?
Mary is in the same level, that type of nihilism. I think she... I also think that Mary might actually she's using her, like, I don't care if society falls apart as a bit of a front to say, I just don't want to put my cart back sometimes.
I care if society falls apart, though. Like, I'm pro that.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I think maybe you do a little, but I think also sometimes you just don't want to put your cart back.
True.
One of the two.
But it's more effort to go to the car corral like this guy's saying and
that's
like,
what I'm
start
saying.
Flinging them all over the place.
It wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah. Bradley Allen said, Mary is based. I wish she would marry me. Ha ha ha.
Oh, man. They're gonna
Where's
have to
the ring? Where's the dowry? Have you presented any of your credentials? You can't just propose to girls on the internet.
There will be no dowry. There's a great line in an episode of the show.
It's going to be like, what? Are you bartering? Get out of here.
That's what it is. Also, I want to point out
no one proposes to Brett, and he's mad about it. That's what he wants to point out.
That does bother me that nobody proposes.
And he went blonde and everything.
Mm-hmm. Well, Goofer Trooper said swooping in to tell Brett his hair looks great.
Thank you.
You're about to say it does. Did you see that? So I got really squeaky there, but like,
he's
tell me something
himself.
I don't know.
So
Lane said they don't have the right to free speech. They have the privilege of speaking freely within certain conditions. A right is absolute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Goofer Trooper said 30 crisis parties and Hannah Claire gets a book club special.
Hannah Claire's like, I'll do that for no crisis parties.
Also,
Let's
like,
go.
I am happy to participate in this game as I invented it, but
You can't
you
just
guys realize
pile the wagers onto Hannah Claire.
Mary doesn't have one. And
Okay.
I'm not a co-host. I have
30 crisis parties and I am getting a tattoo in my lip.
What are you going to get tattooed
a
there?
card.
Crisis.
Crisis? All right, let's go.
That's all it'll take.
Actually, getting cart would be funny.
We need to start writing these down somewhere.
But then it would just deform into a blob. So
How long do lip tattoos last?
it depends for each person. It could be years, it could be months, it could be forever. Who knows? I don't really care if crisis is in my lip forever. Dragon's Talent. Oh, Hobbit said hashtag stand with Brett. Hashtag say no to gaslighting girls.
That's right. Stop gaslighting.
What do we gaslight you about?
What? Is it say no to gaslighting girls, or is it say no to gaslighting,
Brett shouldn't gaslight us?
Girls,
Brett
at us.
Brett shouldn't gaslight us about the fact that he actually does love his hair.
So you're gaslighting
us
no,
about hating
he's
being
calling
blonde.
you gaslighting girls.
I don't think that's true.
Hobbit,
We're going to need a clarification.
Hobbit, help me out with this. You clearly are saying that the girls here,
I
my
don't know.
lovely co-hosts, are gaslighting.
It's not that clear.
That you're gaslighting us because you actually love
You're
being blonde.
crazy. Can you even read his super chat?
Oh my gosh,
you don't know what you're talking
blonde.
about.
He can't read.
Wait, is this from the Amber Heard School of
Thank
Writing?
you, guys.
Is this did Amber Heard's person who wrote that article do this? Is it it's just
I'm possessed by the ghost of Amber Heard's PR team.
weasel words, I tell you.
Dragon's Talon 1001 said moving spitball gun that goes off with each super chat.
my God.
Ian would get devastated.
I don't like that at all.
Spitball gun.
Spitball gun is
Have
a
you
scary
seen this? I'm going to need to see a
Yikes.
prototype.
Bradley Allen said, I simp for authoritarian Mary over strong jaw Hannah now. These sound like Native
Characters.
American names.
I'm not loving my
It's like
nickname,
strong
team.
jaw.
Well, you'd be Hannah Claire Strongjaw.
Strong jaw?
And you would be
Mary authoritarian?
Yeah, Mary Authoritarian.
A maritarian, if you will.
Mary
Yeah.
Authoritarian.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there we go.
That'll need to be workshopped.
Let's go.
Hobbit said party time.
Thank you, Hobbit.
Red Z said the Venture Brothers. Thoughts?
Not familiar enough.
Not
with
familiar either.
it. Familiar, but not familiar enough. So.
Johnny Derp said Mary wants society to collapse because Little Women are, of course, best situated to weather an apocalypse.
Is that true, Mary?
Is that true?
Well, you will
better
be
at hiding.
You'll be considered prime real estate property.
You're valuable.
When the warlords come for you, and they will want to.
Can't
take
wait.
You. So depending on who, I don't know. Are you preferring more of like an Andrew Tate warlord or?
You're telling me e-celebs are going to be the warlords after the apocalypse?
There will be.
I hope I don't live.
There will be.
E-celebs who are dependent on the internet?
Yeah.
When there's an apocalypse and presumably no more internet, they're
Is
going to
Andrew
rise
Tate a
up.
prepper?
There will. Who would be your ideal warlord husband?
Alex Jones.
All right, let's go.
No elaboration whatsoever.
None.
I think we should start a new segment where we just rank the best looking preppers on YouTube. I don't know any of them, I have to say.
We would have to study up.
Lots of research.
Tyler Hogue said, "Hey Brett, I ain't gay, but would you marry me for tax benefits? Hair looks great though. Also, hope you enjoy all 9 of the Fast and Furious movies."
You know what? There's nothing wrong with sticking it to the man when it comes to all those stories and television shows where like they fake a marriage to
And
like
they
get
really
a
fall
green
in
card.
love.
I'm like, let's go. Fake that marriage for that green card.
I like the idea that a lot of those end up with them really falling in love. So that's what Brett's saying. Like, he was marry for the
That's
tax
basically
benefits,
all
but
the
he's
90
open
Day
to falling in
Fiancés.
love.
They did a really that's a house storyline in the later seasons where he marries his housekeeper for like a joke and like to get her a green card, and then he kind of realizes how lonely he is, and it's weird because she clearly knows how broken of a person he is and like never actually sees him that way. It's very good. It's very good.
Interesting. Caper 2X. Wait, I actually wanted to ask you, Brett, when is the Fast and Furious with Brie Larson coming out?
May or so. It comes out next spring.
Does that mean Hannah Claire will be beholden to watch that one?
If
as
I
well?
get to 9 before this is over, then I don't think I should have to watch it. But if I'm still amidst my
Yeah.
thing, then I should have to watch it.
I think you should. I don't think you should have to watch it. I think you should want to watch it.
I don't want
That's
to
the
watch
problem.
it. I have to
Like,
watch them. Like you and your
You're
beautiful
violating
blonde
her
locks.
freedom of conscience.
Yeah, like I'm more just sad that you don't want to. That's
I know. I think that's why you argue with me.
Yes, dear leader.
I'm giving you like my review, and Brett is like, "No, but you don't understand." I'm like, "No, I do understand, Brett. I just don't like it."
It's so good.
No, but if you thought about this context, you would like it.
Well, you're over here like, well, and then I have to ask myself, why did a sequel get made? I'm like, we know the answer as to why a sequel got made.
Look, I have to like test my theory of do I think this movie deserves a sequel, and I feel like so far I could maybe understand what's a sequel. So like maybe my theory is slightly wrong, but not really because I don't really think this is gonna. I have low expectations.
I also am going to workshop my Hannah Claire voice. That wasn't a good Hannah Claire voice. I gotta
What?
get it.
That's not Hannah Claire.
I didn't know that was a Hannah Claire voice.
She's
Am I
like,
square jaw or strong jaw? What is it?
Someone else said square.
I don't like being on the internet sometimes. I feel like I'm gonna have to like develop a better haircut, cover
strong
it up.
jaw is good.
Definitely strong jaw.
Yeah. Caper2X said, Mary, you want kids so you can't be a nihilist. I'm not a nihilist, though.
You don't consider yourself a nihilist?
I just think that we should have a little more chaos in the world.
So you're...
it means something to me.
Do you consider yourself what? That's not really a realist, though, because a realist wouldn't necessarily want.
I don't know
nihilism.
if that's even the same wheelhouse of.
But it's like, I think of it more as like you look at the state of the world we're in, you accept that that's the way it is.
I mean, when we're talking about societal collapse, I'm like, what are we even collapsing? Just the fact that you can buy food plastic wrapped on a shelf? That's not really. I don't feel like that's a lot of collapsing.
Well, you know what? Maybe it wouldn't collapse so fast if you put your darn cart back.
There's not much to collapse. That's all I'm saying.
I already feel like society is collapsing in a lot of ways.
I worry sometimes, not to go off on a tangent.
We're past the peak, yes?
I worry sometimes that we are also in our own little bubble of knowledge, that your information and your view of the world is curated by whichever algorithm is bolstered by the stuff you choose to write, choose to read, choose to engage with. So the stuff you... Like, I read a lot of stuff. I read a bunch of stuff yesterday on the stupid Little Mermaid trailer, right? And depending on where you get your news information, it's either the greatest thing that's ever happened in the world or it's the worst thing that's ever happened in the world. It really does depend on where you get your information. So I don't know if necessarily that's me not wanting to look at the reality of the world as it's happening now. Yesterday, I was surprised by a couple of the items that had gone up in price, namely like bakery bread was like more expensive than it finally went up in price. That seemed like the death knell to me. I'm like, if one thing is held true, it's kind of like the Arizona tea thing. Like when Arizona tea goes up in price, we know we're screwed because that's been able to like avoid inflation forever. I think where you get your information speaks a lot to your worldview as to whether society is actually collapsing. There's people that think Biden's doing a great job. This isn't a political podcast.
And there are people who like the internet and go into the metaverse. But I don't know that I trust their judgment to tell me if society's collapsing.
Collapse is just a strong word.
It's just dwindling down like a star dying.
Goofer Trooper said, Brett, will you marry me? No homo.
If I would have
They're
known,
all over you today. What's going on?
This is blonde hair.
If I would have known that having hair that I didn't want was all it took to finally become attractive to the masses, I would have done it a long time
They're going to keep it now? Brett's such an oppressed damsel over here. I just had to get this blonde hair. Now everyone loves me.
Poor you.
It's a rough
We're
life.
going to keep it?
No, I don't know.
How many girls have swum into your DMs being like, I really like the blonde?
Yeah, lots. Tons.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Tons of them. Yeah, you have no idea.
This is hilarious.
Dragon Stallion 1001 said, authoritarian. LOL. Nathan Koss said, Mary Iron Fist.
That is Mary.
Johnny Derp sent one message. Wait.
One with
no message, and then another one that said, come on, guys, it's meritocracy, obviously.
Mary, do you believe in meritocracy?
Meritocracy or meritocracy?
Meritocracy.
Oh, wait, which one did you say?
Do you believe in the first one, the actual saying?
The real thing, not the one we made up for you.
Oh, sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
Let's save them. Let's save the rest, and we will go to Podluck, and then after Podluck, we will read the rest of them.
Yes, let's make fun of Pinocchio.
Yes. Okay, guys. So this is what's funny to me. We covered yesterday that everything was going wrong with The Little Mermaid, and they're like, it's because people don't like race swapping of characters.
Not true.
No, Disney just is garbage. It is true that the race swapping of let me rephrase that. The continued ginger side that we are going through, the debasement of redheads in our society is shocking. But I do also think that new Pinocchio comes out to no fanfare, that nobody gets. It's a Zemeckis film. Robert Zemeckis is considered a legendary filmmaker. This movie has 28% from critics,
36 from audience,
and 36% from audience.
When the critics and the audience can agree that something sucks,
it's bad.
You guys are gonna make me watch it.
No. Mary goes, "Do you want to review Pinocchio?" And I go, and I quote.
Well, when I found out that it was on streaming only, I was disappointed because it's like Tom Hanks is in it. I thought there was like some fanfare around it.
They say that like it's a selling, like that's a selling point these days.
Well, he is an A-lister still, even though he's older, right?
Like I thought Chet had sort of outstripped him.
Yes. Now, if this had been Pinocchio with Chet Hanks, let's go.
Hanks and Chet Hanks are kind of like Timcast IRL and Pop Culture Crisis.
That's true. That's true.
We won't say who's who.
We'll stay ambiguous.
Chet, yes. Which one is more like the other? We may never know.
My main gripe with Pinocchio is that they didn't use a real marionette doll. They CGI'd Pinocchio.
And they could have gotten the cheetah.
The practical effects would have been so much better.
And they could have gotten the cheetah from the Good Boy Noah Instagram.
Do you want to explain?
Who
I don't know what you're talking about.
Basically, there's an Instagram person that I like named Good Boy Noah, who's he's like an R&B musician.
Is he blonde?
He actually might be. No, he's like light brown hair, and his music is extremely so-so, like extremely so-so.
Okay, you don't need to put him down.
But
he's doing the best he can.
His music is okay. Let me say, his music is not so-so. His music is very like it doesn't stand out in the way that he probably wishes it would. But he's got a good voice. But that's not how he got famous. He got famous by having a cheetah doll,
like a hand puppet
of a cheetah. He asked the cheetah for help.
You sent this to
I
me?
might have. He
asks the cheetah for help making all these recipes and they do it like a duo.
And then they sing the recipes.
The internet's such a fun and weird place.
It's a beautiful thing. It's glorious.
It's a duet where he does the singing and the cheetah does like. I think the cheetah is somebody else though.
It has
the
to
cheetah
be
does rapping.
Part of the mystery. We don't know where the cheetah comes from.
So they have
and
these,
Brett just loves it.
You could have
when he watches it, the wistful simplicity on his face is just like
my face lights up.
Lovely.
Wistful simplicity.
I wish we could we could find some, but yeah, they should have had him do the puppeting of Pinocchio.
Well, the marionette would be on strings.
Oh yeah, I guess not the same thing, but still.
But that's why I'm saying it would look so much cooler if it were a real marionette, because you can easily make that look very lifelike.
Yep.
And when it comes to Disney, with all of it, like Marvel and Star Wars and all of their acquired properties, I just don't understand why they make things so low quality when they have the money and the time that they need. Like, you have the money and resources beyond what we can even fathom. Why make something cheaply?
This picture they had to use of Halle Bailey, like that they had to brighten up because the shot is so bad from Little Mermaid. I feel so bad for her, almost like.
Right, it looks like they're lightening her skin tone on purpose, but it's actually just because the teaser was so done in such low light. And I think they might have done that to make it more like realistic to being in the depths of the ocean. But that's why it was animated in the first place. Is, it's not supposed to be realistic.
So they point out that the trailer likes versus dislikes followed suit with Pinocchio the same way that they're following suit with The Little Mermaid. Basically, it says it got 54,000 likes. It got 558,000 dislikes. That is a hefty. They would call that ratioing. They call that ratioing.
They can hide likes and dislikes if they wanted to.
Yeah, but the
dislikes were hidden by YouTube, but they can hide both if they felt like it.
Well, a lot of them do, but the Chrome extension reveals them both.
But you can't, with that Chrome extension, you can't look at likes and dislikes if they have it on the mode that they hide both.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought
you can turn
off.
So
they're
likes
just hoping
and
people don't know about the Chrome extension.
Yeah. So if they hide both,
and therefore it'd be like, 58,000 likes seems pretty good. But then when you have the Chrome extension, you can see the comparison.
Yes, but on YouTube you can hide both, and the Chrome extension won't show either.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's interesting. Okay, so but that's the thing. They want the credit for the likes there. They don't want to hide both. Plus, that's like that's like disabling comments. It's
a bad look.
It's a dead giveaway that we have no confidence in what we're about to release. So, to me, this is one of those perfect cases where it's not about like you have your own complaints about Halle Bailey playing Ariel. Do I think it's stupid? Yes, I do think it's stupid. I think it's stupid that they kept her red hair but changed what she looked like because it proves that they wanted to have some of the distinguishing features, but not all of them. They want to have their cake and eat it too. But this is proof that it doesn't have to be about race. You could just make garbage products and people will tell you that your product is garbage, which is what this is. So
why are either of these movies coming out? I don't really get it.
Because they're
why are they coming out?
Because they look because
like no one was like, you know what we really need? Pinocchio. Where's that Pinocchio?
Well, no one asked for Andor, and nobody asked for any of this
shit.
They don't want to have to source new things. And it's cheaper. It's literally called fan baiting. It's a marketing tactic. You do a race or a gender swap. You piss off the fans, and then you use that as cover when the review.
Literally everything that we watched from D23 was derivative.
Yep, and even the thing she's like, I can't believe there was only one new thing.
And then I was wrong.
And then she's like, I was like, what was the new thing? She goes, Willow. I'm like, that's not a new thing. That was a thing in the 80s. She's like, oh, it's all derivative then. It's all been done before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so and I don't. I still want to point out like our hypocrisy, I guess, in saying that the live action Little Mermaid doesn't respect its source material when the animated Little Mermaid doesn't respect source material either.
And also,
how so?
Well, it's based on a folk tale
from Hans Christian Andersen. Yeah.
Yeah, and
she's evil.
Took extreme liberties.
Yeah. So,
but did they take
I find that interesting because, to a certain extent, like for Disney to produce any content, like it's the same thing with the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Super dark book. Disney is like, we're gonna tweak it a little bit. Still a pretty dark movie, but like to get anything out, they always compromise the source material in that way. But they do honor like the heritage of, like, it's set in France. It's whatever. Like the Little Mermaid.
It was a Danish folktale.
It's a Danish folktale, and they kind of throw that out. They're saying like Danish culture.
Well, yeah, because it's no longer, once Disney gets a hold of it, it's not about Danish folklore anymore. They're not in their eyes adapting a Danish. They're not race swapping a Danish character. They're race swapping a Disney character. I want to point out that it's also kind of interesting. Like a lot of these arguments fall along the lines of like one side says representation. They think they're saying representation doesn't matter. And that, but what they're really saying is make different characters. And the other side is saying representation does matter, but we want to change these characters. But for what it would take for this to work is like the people who are saying that you need to just make your own characters have to admit that it does matter, but that they need to also make new characters and not change the ones that already exist. But they those arguments always get lost in translation. Even I'm not really kind of articulating what I'm trying to say as well as I would like to, because it's a convoluted argument to have. But it's like nobody's complete. Like when they also point out, they said why didn't they race swap Jasmine when they did Disney live act? Why doesn't she look different? Why does that one stay the same but this one's different? I take issue with bragging about making colorblind casting when it's very clearly color conscious casting. Do I care? No, but I don't care about the Little Mermaid. That's me. That doesn't bother me. But I also think that maybe the best way to look at it is that they're disrespecting the source material, like you said, that's already been disrespected. They're just doing it in a way that's now going to upset people who have already had the benefit of seeing the original version of this character, or the original animated version of this character. So I think it's unfortunately I sympathize with like the hardliners who are like, you should just make the characters how they are. I do take great issue when they call Captain America a mantle. They call Spider-Man a mantle. No, shut up.
Yeah,
no, it's
everything's
not.
A mantle, right?
No, it's not a freaking mantle. That's a cop-out. I get it. I get where the hardline stance comes from, but I also understand that a lot of it is like people feel the need to equivocate. They're like, oh, I don't have a problem with this, but, and then they have to feel like they have to temper their statement because they don't want to get called names. The simplest solution is for these studios to just grow a sack and start making new characters. Moana was, I don't know how Moana was successful.
Moana.
Like all they have to do is make original stuff, and you get all that leeway.
I think people really liked Encanto as well.
Like all you need is to create new stuff.
People liked Princess and the Frog.
Oh, that was another one that they're like, yeah, I'd love to see you change that and see what people say. Like,
but there's no reason to change that.
Exactly, you're not.
There's also no reason that you would ever make that live action either.
Yeah. Well, you don't really need to do any of these live actions.
An actual toad, like.
So to me, this is one of those things where it's like the solution to all of this is so much simpler and kind of beautiful. Tell new stories. Tell new stories that are representative of other cultures.
So is some of this, maybe you've already said this and I'm kind of missing it, but some of it is that they own the intellectual property, right? Yeah, so they're like, well, we don't have to pay for this and we don't have to pay someone to come up with something
Exactly.
new.
They don't have to pay out.
But they're cheaply trying to score points by race swapping.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Downvote, disillusioned by Disney. Am I right?
That's how I feel about it. So it's
what they should do is make the Little Mermaid live action the way that the folktale went.
Yeah.
I was just reading part of it, and she was literally about to stab Prince Eric in his sleep.
See, just tell that story. Also, a lot of people.
That'd be fascinating. They should do that.
Yeah.
A lot of people also took issue with the fact that they said that love is no longer an important stuff. We're kind of rehashing yesterday's stuff, but that's not important anymore. You're not allowed to get married and look for love because that's bad. Because you'd think Disney would want to encourage that, so that way they could have kids, so that those kids could.
Also, live action Cinderella from 2015 was really good and it was really well received, and I don't think it had those same pitfalls. I mean, I guess it's because so much has changed since 2015.
It was
her name?
It was Emma Watson in the Beauty and the Beast remake, but who was
that was later on. The Cinderella
I don't remember.
remake was someone else,
but
though.
The point is that for this stuff, Pinocchio, it's people just don't like bad stuff. So make better stuff, Disney. I know that is, if you want to pay me a large, massive consulting fee, I will accept that payment. Actually, I can't accept that payment, but hire someone as a consultant that says to you guys, make new stuff. It's a revolutionary concept.
Brett and I can both do this. We've done it many a time.
Yes.
Wait, who was it? Lily James?
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. I recognized her from Downton Abbey, but I really liked her in that.
Did you see this thing about Jimmy Kimmel in the what feels like manufactured anger?
Manufactured outrage at
over
something that the supposed victim is finding funny.
Also, okay, so
her quote about this was so weird.
She was like, "Maybe I'll be mad about it tomorrow."
Do you want to?
She had something that was like, "Well, because I."
Do you want to tell everybody what happened? Mary?
Let's loop everyone in.
I'm not super knowledgeable about.
So basically, what happened
his
is
joke was supposed to be. I didn't think it was funny.
Quinta Brunson won an Emmy for Abbott Elementary, and basically before they went up to present the award, I forget his name. The guy from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with Megan Fox. I always forget that actor's name. Will Arnett comes up and he pulls Jimmy Kimmel.
Call him like discount Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, he's discount Brad. He's like when you can't afford Bradley Cooper, you hire Will Arnett. So he drags Jimmy Kimmel up on stage while they're about to present the award, and he says, "Jimmy's had one too many margaritas," or something really not funny, as is typical with the Emmys, because they're not funny, and you wouldn't be able to be funny when you need rotator cuff surgery from patting yourself in the back all night.
How would your decency laws respond to jokes about public intoxication?
Oh, cut the feed immediately.
So basically, he drags Jimmy Kimmel up on stage, and he presents the award, and Jimmy Kimmel is pretending to be passed out. But the thing is he holds on to the joke for the entirety of her acceptance speech, and she acknowledges it to him when there was literally, I wonder if we can play this video.
This is literally just Jimmy Kimmel being unfunny.
Yeah.
Big whoop. We already knew that.
He held the joke for too long.
By the way, celebrities can't meme.
They do not know how to meme.
This is obviously him trying to make a viral moment, and I don't know who planned it for him. It certainly wasn't him.
Ha ha ha, this is so funny. See, he's dragging Jimmy up on stage. Ha ha ha.
I just don't get any of it.
So basically,
it's only funny to the people who are physically in the room because they love congratulating each other.
And then you see her come on stage, she wins, and blah, blah. So the idea here is that, of course, people had to make it about racial issues because that's the world.
That he was stealing all of the attention and praise from a black woman.
It says, white male privilege is laying on the ground and expecting a black woman to just step around you while she accepts her hard-earned award. F Jimmy Kimmel. The lady literally laughed about this.
She had this thing, she was like, well, I kind of know him, and I don't think I'm offended by this.
Yeah.
I think that was
Should I be?
I don't think I'm offended. Like,
when are people gonna start getting canceled for not being offended when they should be?
Yeah. Well, she's like, I'll have to check with my agent to see if it's beneficial for me to be offended by this tomorrow.
I want to leave this open-ended so I could be like, well, after recovering from the trauma of that moment, I realized I am offended.
You know, actually, if you think about it, if she were offended, she couldn't have reacted in the moment if she wanted to, because that would make her look way worse than Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
Like, it's sort of like a moment like Taylor Swift getting the mic taken from her.
That's literally what people point out.
She couldn't immediately speak out against that.
Well, also, like,
in the moment,
she's
right?
a comedian in some respects, right? So, like, him trying to do this bit and her being like, it seems like this bit is awkwardly failing. Do I try and, like, go
how do you
along
recover
with
it?
Or do you want me to, like, ignore this? I kind of want to have this moment. Like, he's kind of looping her into something that I don't think she really wants to be a part of.
Well,
and
she's
like,
like, I'm going to be on the
weird
show
that
on
she
Wednesday.
wasn't told
That was part
he
of
was
it.
gonna
they
do
didn't know
that.
she's gonna win.
I'll
Right? Theoretically,
guess,
Like,
even
maybe
though
like-
it's rigged.
well, like, but theoretically, they can't be like, Quinta, just in case you win, we're telling everyone this, but we specifically want you to know Jimmy's gonna do this bit.
But you already know who's gonna win. That's all predetermined, right?
I have no idea. I don't pay attention to these things.
Well, they literally, it's
think
really
it
funny.
is.
They point out, she's like, thanks to my friends for voting for me. I'm so you're admitting it. You're all just a bunch of, you're an in group and everyone else is an out group. And you expect people to watch. Oh, and I forgot, I had this map. So if anybody was wondering, like, why you might not have heard about this story, here's a map of who watched it. And let me. The map in red is people watching Monday Night Football, and the map in blue is where the searches are for the Emmys. So, as you can see, the majority of the country found searching Monday Night Football far more compelling.
The only coverage I heard of the Emmys at all, which I don't even remember which ones the Emmys are, I guess they're television, is that another famous actor who has never won an Emmy before but has won other awards, who was in Dope Sick, which is about the opioid crisis.
Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner won an Emmy for his role as the doctor who gets addicted to painkillers. And I think that's interesting.
Yep.
Doesn't make me want to watch the Emmys, but
Zendaya also won that award where she became like the second, like she's a 2-time Emmy. Like she made history.
Did Sydney Sweeney win anything? Because she got like nominated for like Best Supporting Actress or something.
I don't know.
But then her mom maybe supports Trump, so we can't really give her any awards.
She didn't win anything to my knowledge.
Also,
most of the coverage I see about these award shows is red carpet fashion anyway.
And powerful speeches. They always love to talk about the power. Lizzo gave
They're
a powerful.
just crying.
Lizzo gave a powerful speech about how she's like, I wanted to see a woman that was fat, black, and beautiful like me to be up on the stage. I wanted to be represented on stage. If I had to go back in time and tell myself,
what
you'll
did
just
Lizzo
have
win
to.
For?
She won for her like they have like a reality show about becoming a backup dancer for her called like Big Girls.
Yeah.
And that won.
I've never heard of this ever.
No, well, it's a thing. And so she won an award, and she clapped. She gave herself a very big pat on the back, saying like, "You did it. You represent." I really have a huge problem with the narcissism behind the concept of like. Maybe it's me, but I don't ever feel the need to be represented on screen. Like maybe it's narcissistic of me to want to be the person who actually accomplishes something to be seen, right? But like, I just don't understand the narcissism of a person who's like, I am so proud to represent all these people, right? Like that feels like a huge indulgence in self-obsession. To see yourself as a representative of this large group of people. But I also don't understand the people who are like, I want to be represented. Maybe that's just because I've always seen it on screen. I don't know.
It's because
but I don't identify
someone like
with it that way.
Lizzo wants to have all the attention on the aspects of herself that don't require any responsibility or vulnerability from her.
Okay.
Which is being fat, being a woman, being black.
Yeah. I don't know.
What else is there?
I guess
that any of the media pays attention to about her.
I just have a hard time. Like I can appreciate that to them is important. There was also those videos of young girls who were watching the Little Mermaid trailer, and they were enthralled because they were seeing a woman, an actress who looked like them on screen. Maybe
that is projection onto the kid that you're watching.
It felt like does that kid even understand the concept
Firstly,
of this? I don't know.
she is excited about the movie.
Yeah.
It's also, the clip of the teaser is from a sad moment in the movie. Yeah. So she's crying because it's a sad moment. And also she might have like enjoyed the animated film. So she was excited for the movie for that reason. And then if you really want to read into it, it's probably just that her parents conditioned her to have certain, you know, emphasis on those the traits, race of that character, right?
I guess for me,
that she wouldn't have otherwise noticed.
Maybe it's weird that like I would rather be the person than be represented by a person in media. But also,
someone can represent, or I don't know, like perform in a way that reflects something you experienced.
Yeah. I guess I would rather see representation be displayed through original content. Well, I think swapping someone out so there's representation in an already established film and feature doesn't have the same authenticity or power that it would be by telling new stories. Like, isn't representation also about depicting people, you know, obviously it's fictional, but like in some context of reality, right? Like it's a mermaid story, right? So none of it's real, but like, of course, Little Mermaid is white. You know, she doesn't have to have red hair, but she famously does because it's from a white culture and from a white writer. Like, I think in some ways, Encanto is interesting because it's true to a culture.
Yeah.
You know, it's got elements of it that are fictional or, you know, mystery, but it's representation of something where you would originally find these stories. Like, I don't think you do any favors to people by dropping their race into a remake that's poorly done of an established classic. Like, we should hold ourselves accountable to pursuing great new and powerful art, and if that involves representing, you know, people who aren't typically on screen, like, cool, do it, but don't just swap people out. That's a cheap way of cutting corners, and I don't think that has the impact that you think it should.
It's funny, I was thinking about like eventually this will come around to like the shows that are important to me or to someone else, and I was thinking about shows where there's characters that I really like that I would not want to see race up, that I could use as a great example, and one of them was in the show Person of Interest, Taraji P. Henson plays a cop named Detective Carter, and I would never want to see that character race swapped for another character. She's amazing in that role. They don't need to change that character. I wouldn't want to see them redo it at all, let alone race swap that character. And I'm not necessarily the biggest Taraji P. Henson fan in all of her other work, but in that, like, I didn't watch Empire, but like in that show, I loved it. They don't need to change that character. I don't want them to change that character. So, yeah, it's but it was interesting. That's Jimmy Kimmel again, holding up the modern day late night talent of not being funny ever at all.
There's a new movie coming out from Disney called Wish that I think will feature a new Disney princess.
Okay.
Not sure of all the details, but it's a new character. It's exactly what we have been asking for them to do.
Yeah, well, that's
and people are happy about it.
And I guarantee you it will get a lot more appreciation.
It's coming out November next year.
Okay. All right, we'll keep an eye on it. Let's do Super Chats.
Okay. Hobbit said Brett's choice, no adding on goalposts.
No goalpost removal.
You're no fun. Dragon's Talon 1001 said Monarch Mary. I think I like Meritocracy.
Not Mary Monarch?
No.
Monarchy Mary? Monarchy Mary is hard to say.
I'm not even like pro-monarchy. I don't even know what I am. Cosmic Surgeon said Brett's response to a gay marriage proposal, let's stick it to the man.
Slip of the tongue? Freudian slip? You decide.
Tyler Hogue.
Also, Mary, we are very close to a third crisis party, and I think you need to commit. If we were to get a third one today, you have to officially commit to what you're going to do if we get to 30. So you're saying...
Sure, yeah.
Oh, is that official? So we have that in writing.
It's official. If we get to 30 crisis parties on any show, then I will get a tattoo in my lip that says crisis.
Well, I'm trying to get a third one. We got to get there eventually.
I think it's kind of inevitable. Yep. Anyway.
Yeah, well, we have.
It's all just a matter of time.
We just take it one day at a time.
I think what's going to end up happening is there are going to be days that people think about super chatting, but because there's not enough momentum, they're like, I'll hold off and I'll wait until I get to 30.
They're gonna start like coordinating attacks.
We're gonna have to, or like Mary will end up saying something like she doesn't put her cart back, or she's
we'll have
like
a chaos day.
Like, why don't you just buy or I'll say something like, well, if you're poor, why don't you buy a house or something stupid like that? And then they get really upset.
Tyler Hogue said, also off topic, what's your opinion on Mr. Robot? Favorite show ever, and taking that to my grave. If you haven't watched it, then I would say watch it.
I have seen the first 2 seasons. I remember there was a gap between one of those seasons, and I ended up falling away from it. It came out at a really interesting time. I feel like that show almost wouldn't work now because it's very...
When did it come out?
What is this about?
It's very like anti-capitalist. It's like the group is like anonymous in the show, and it's Rami Malek and Christian Slater. It's very, very good. The number one thing, the only thing that really sticks with me about that show, other than the frenetic storytelling, is that the main character, he's got like in the first season he suffers from drug problems where when he buys his drugs, he buys his opiates, and then he also gets Suboxone with it, so that when he runs out, he can take the Suboxone to prevent himself from going through withdrawal. And it was very interesting to me to see that, which was a very real thing to me at the time, like to see that stuff happening. I was through my first stint of like, I hadn't relapsed yet, but it was a real thing. Like I had been on Suboxone for a period of time, so I understood what he was going through completely on that show, and that made it feel very real to me. But the themes are very, the company in the show is supposed to be like Enron, and so taking down corporations. I feel like it would almost feel cliche now, but at that time in like 2014, it was very, very cool. I mean, it was almost like just post-Occupy, or not just post-Occupy, but it's like post-Occupy. Social discontent has been growing and growing and growing as the middle class shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. It really caught a segment of the population, but that wasn't the main part. It was like you had really good actors portraying really interesting characters. And I think nowadays they forgot that you have to have both. You can't just have social messaging. You have to tell interesting stories with great actors.
Nathan Koss said, Brett Fairhair?
That would be if she's Hannah Claire Strongjaw and you're
Mary Iron Fist.
Mary Iron Fist, and I am Sir Brett Fairhair. I don't know how I feel about that now.
Game of Thrones is gonna come through and steal all of our sweet names.
Bad up, I'm not reading that. Goofer Trooper said, Brett, I simped for you like 60 episodes ago, SMH.
Brett didn't have the self-esteem to recognize it then, but now that he's blonde, he's really understanding what it feels like.
I don't even know what happened 6 episodes ago.
So many times people are like, you said this on the show, and I'm like, dude, 2.5 hours a day, 5 days a week. Like, eventually, just, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Not all of it.
Bradley Allen said, OMG, I'm ginger and we're the one true minority.
That's
Bow
so
to my oppression.
true.
So very true.
You guys are a global genetic minority, and you should advocate for yourself.
So true.
Do not let the ginger side happen upon deaf ears. You deserve
also,
to
like,
be
don't let people lie to you about this. Like, this is true and it doesn't get enough attention.
People actually bully gingers.
I talk about it constantly.
Talk about gaslighting. People just gaslighting gingers into like, oh, you're crazy.
Well, it's because they're like white people, which is also the global minority.
Yeah.
They're like, no, you guys can't at all be oppressed, and it's like, no. Gingers are bullied. Also, they're a genetic minority. They will die out if we're not careful.
Yeah.
Think of the dodo bird.
Terrence Rice said, too effing blonde. Tyler Durden from Fight Club.
That's me? I'm too blonde?
Look at him touching his hair. I'm too blonde.
He's getting all insecure about it.
Oh my God.
Unique name here said, Cheetah's rundown of Harry Potter is legendary and should be required watching.
I'm going to have to check that out. I haven't seen that. Now I'm like
going to do some research.
I'm very
later.
excited to check that out.
Tyler Hogue said, talking about Tate next season, if the boys, the main villain, will be Andrew Tate. What's your upload schedule on Spotify? Always seems a day behind.
Okay, yeah. So basically, when we finish tonight, that episode goes up at 8 o'clock the next, or like between 9 a.m. the next morning. because of the structure of the show and the company that is done outside my purview. I do the editing for everything. I get I do the thumbnails and everything, but I don't do the Megaphone upload. So it will be up in the morning, but the YouTube will always be there that day.
Yeah.
So also I have to wonder out loud if Tyler Hogue is related to Judith Hogue, who played April O'Neil in the very first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
Let us know.
Pull out these crazy facts. Like, I don't
Replaced-
even know both of your last names. I mean, I do, but like Brett's like, oh, but do you remember the full name and birth date of this actress who's in a TV show that ran for 2 minutes?
And her favorite color.
And if I remember, she was a redhead. I could be wrong about that, but replaced by the gorgeous Paige Turco in the second.
I think we should
season.
start a
More
scholarship
ginger side.
funds for specifically redheaded people.
Let's go.
Help them support
I miss
themselves.
Lindsay Lohan.
Was she a redhead?
She's still around.
Was she a redhead?
I don't know.
You don't know if Lindsay Lohan is a
very
redhead?
famous.
She was blonde to me.
What?
She's a redhead and she just got married.
Never mind.
What are you talking
Never
about?
mind.
It's
You're
Lindsay
thinking Hillary
Lohan.
Never mind. I'm thinking of someone else. The
She doesn't go here. You don't know her.
Pinch Me ND said, didn't the 96 Pinocchio movie with Jonathan Taylor Thomas lifelike marionette doll? I think you mean like you forgot to type something in there. I don't know what the question was.
I don't know if I ever saw the 96 Pinocchio. I was never a big Disney. I do remember. Does anybody remember not The Land Before Time, but The Page Master?
Yeah, why don't they remake The Land Before Time? Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, nothing
they
is
shouldn't
safe.
remake that
Nothing is safe.
Why not?
because people actually like that.
That's the thing. Like, we don't protect what's sacred. Why are we
Probably
not?
because it's about dinosaurs.
I have all kind of questions about it.
So you can't race swap dinosaurs, can you?
Probably not.
It's a good question. Only Hollywood will know.
Millennial Mike said, Mary, don't care about The Little Mermaid as a brand, but do as a cultural statement. I would say the biggest shield for this movie is its demographic. Oh, I said he said many don't care.
Oh yeah, that's the thing that this is
a cultural statement.
Who's its demographic?
We were talking about this yesterday. I was wondering whether it's Disney adults or the children of Disney adults or just children in general.
I don't think it's children in general. I think it would be Disney adults and those people who feel like some sense of pride in showing their kids woke versions of movies.
There's and really right now fan baiting is a marketing strategy that protects them from basically the idea is like they know it's going to be bad, they know it will be. Maybe the idea is that they resign themselves at the when you really think about it, you look at The Little Mermaid, you look at Snow White, you look at all these classic movies, right, that they've made, and you're like, we're never going to live up to that. So in a cynical way, you're like, we're never going to be able to recapture that magic. We're never going to have that success with those properties. How do we make it successful without being able to actually top our previous version? You fan bait. You race swap on purpose because you know it will upset people. You then use that as a shield against all criticism, which both forces the critics, so you get those great critics reviews because you know the critics will say it's good just so they can push back. Take that, you incels. The movie was great, even if they don't think it is. So they do that, which then leads to extra marketing because people have to write the articles about the incels.
It's so funny because the audience for Little Mermaid is grown women and little girls, and they're like, take that, you incels, even though the incels don't care.
Incels are like, what?
About the movie whatsoever.
They were not invited to the premiere, so they have literally no idea what's going on.
This is what they always say, like when they make movies and they're like, oh, it doesn't matter. The movie wasn't made for you. And then when you don't go see it, they're like, why didn't the evil straight white men go support our movie? Mary, you should donate to you should send a super chat because we're getting very close to a third crisis party.
I will never super chat.
I kind of want to do it.
My own.
Are you going to super chat our show?
Why would I super chat?
I kind of like what? Because I want a third crisis party.
Well, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Look
Don't
at
worry.
this blonde making this way in the world.
That is me figuring it out one day at a time.
Jojo said first super chat / live view. Surprised Brett actually did it.
You should not be surprised by that. Don't let Dane fill your head with all these lies about me not being a man of my word. I don't know if they know that story. Basically, I have to watch an episode of Survivor at a certain point because I said I would do that for Dane. But I said I would dye my hair. I
love how many people are surprised that you did this.
Yeah, why are you guys surprised?
I think
he
that's
said he was going to do
hilarious.
it. Why did you guys follow through? I'm more confused why you sent all the money if you didn't think Brett was going to do it.
That's the best
that
part.
makes you a little
No,
crazy.
I love that. In good faith, they're like, we're going to do it. And, you know, if Brett lets us down, he lets us down. But instead, he followed through.
They love us. They really love us.
You did talk about dyeing your
Wow.
hair after yesterday's show. And I am glad that we ended up being able to do it before the show.
beforehand.
Because I feel like people would have given you a hard time if you showed up and you're like, you didn't even do it.
So, what color then? If I was to do it another color, which I won't, what color would you say?
If you consider like silver a new color, I would want to see that.
I want to say blue,
Also-
but I think because there's so much yellow in your hair, it will look green. So I'm going to go with green because I think that would be easier to actually get the dye
Green
in.
for pop culture.
For Minnesota. And they're various
technically-
sports teams.
No, purple would be Minnesota because the Vikings are
Purple.
Okay,
But
purple
I'm not doing
also
that.
works.
I think the chat would be with me in saying that just keep it the way it is.
No.
Yes, I think they
I
would.
think 15 for a color is a totally
Wait,
respectable goal.
did you just admit that you want to keep it the way it is?
So you do want to keep it the way it is. So you love it.
No, I'm just saying I don't want to dye it further.
We just caught you.
I'm just saying I don't want to dye it further.
Camber2X said, how many parties to make Hannah Claire a redhead?
Yes, Hannah Claire. How many?
No. I mean, I don't really like
Have
Like
you
a
ever
Kool-Aid red?
What are we talking about? Like,
Are we
fire?
talking an
Somewhere-
auburn, a
I had,
natural?
like, a bunch of friends in college were like, you should go like Ariel Little Mermaid red.
No.
It's
But
not
if
gonna
you
work.
went like a natural looking,
My hair does have some, like this studio light doesn't really do this. There is some natural red tones to my hair.
A little bit.
I have redheads in my family. They're in my genetics.
They're in my
But
genetics.
I am unlikely to fully dye my hair, partially because I have long hair and that, as Mary can attest to, takes more maintenance. Whereas like Brett,
Oh, it's
always,
very easy for me. I've just got it so easy.
so he admits it. He loves being blonde. It's just a different amount of commitment. You always said that you would just shave your head if you really hated it.
That's.
I
yeah,
don't
that's
think I would
basically-
shave
and
my
he
head.
hasn't done that.
Yeah.
Because he likes it.
I committed to the week. I was goalpost gaslit into saying, "Oh no, you can't just." In the spirit of the bet, you can't just.
Thank
Oh,
you.
hey.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys so much.
Tyler Hogue said, LOL, nope, just a normal, simple 20-year-old.
Well, thank you for tuning
You're
in.
not
That-
related to Judith
Not
Hogue.
related to Judith Hogue from the
Big
original
reveal.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Love that movie.
Bradley Allen. What if he actually were?
What if his mom
but
is
he
like, "No,
couldn't
we
tell
are."
you?
Yeah, he's like, I don't know. He's like,
He
my
calls,
mom works in
he
Hollywood.
like calls home and his mom's like, oh, that's like Aunt Kathy's sister. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
turns out that person's mom.
that would be great. That'd be freaking great.
Keep us posted if that changes. If you suddenly are related to her, let us know.
Bradley Allen said, now Mary, just marry me to save my people. Who are your people?
We would need to know who those people are.
Gingers?
Minnesota sports fans?
Hobbit said, nothing is sacred anymore. Family, movies, books, and more are no longer something to enjoy and grow from, only to push ideology. Also, party time.
And
Yes.
I am the one
Not
making
even
people feel
party time
gloomy.
is sacred anymore.
Not even party time. Also, what was the other thing that I was gonna point out something else about the Little Mermaid that was interesting to me, but I completely see. I need like that. I tried to use On It, like the stuff, for
What?
like brain, like to
You need the
supplements.
supplements.
whatever is in
Bio?
Hannah Claire's water bottle
Yes.
right now.
Oh my gosh, let me tell you
need
about
Celsius.
should I give you a
Our
non-sponsored
first
product review?
sponsorship.
I bought these, or I gained access to, someone let me try out these powdered, like the Celsius energy drinks. It's the powdered tubes of them, and everyone should buy them immediately. They're only 210 milligrams of caffeine, which is a lot, but it's not like
Does it have
mind-blowing.
sugar?
I think it must have some sugar, but man, I
Wait,
think
so
it's the
you get-
most effective way of consuming caffeine I've ever had in my
Wait,
whole
so let me get
life.
this straight. You got a free sample, and then actually.
No, someone in our office bought them,
Oh, I
and
was
then
like-
I was like, could I have one? And now I drink them all the time.
I was like, this is like the first example in history of a free sample actually leading to a sale. That's amazing.
Pinch Me ND said, sorry, I meant to say, didn't they use a lifelike marionette doll? Oh, okay.
They could have.
I didn't see that one. But either way, I think the CGI was a mistake for the new one.
It is just so lifeless.
Yeah.
Imagine now I'm picturing Good Boy Noah with his recipes with the hand puppet, and I'm picturing it CGI. I'm just getting angry and annoyed. Don't ever do that.
The Cheetah franchise.
Yeah, I do not want that.
Bad Adam 12 said, No. I paid for white hair like Mary. We got orange. This is BS, man. I want a refund.
No, we didn't say what color it would turn out. We just said he would bleach his hair.
I knew that it was going to fail the first time.
I think
I have experience with bleach.
Yeah, I think this is people not being familiar with how bleach works. When you lift your color, it's actually challenging because you don't know what color people's hair is going to be.
I was like asking for help, and everyone's like, "Well, just do it." I'm like, I'm not just gonna put a bunch of stuff in my hair and hope for the best. I'm gonna like do some research and
just
then
inhale all the bleach chemicals.
Yeah, and then Mary,
not know what you're doing.
Mary helped me. So.
I came through.
You'll
see in the behind the scenes footage
up
tonight.
at 6 p.m. up in less than a half an hour. 28 minutes.
It's on timcast.com, not on the YouTube channel.
Get excited.
Exactly. Hannah Claire, tell everyone where they can find you.
You can find me on timcast.com. Click on the read tab. I post articles there every day. You can also find me. Why am I not good at doing this? Took 1 week off and now I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, you can find me here on Tuesdays typically. You can find me on Instagram at hannahclaire.b, and you can find me on Gab at hannahclaireb. And those are all the places you can find me.
What about Twitter? HC Rimlow?
Ugh, I don't talk about my Twitter.
Well, I'm saying,
oh my gosh, someone found me on Twitter and was like, I don't tweet. I use it because often the news will break first on Twitter, so that's where I get like information. Like I have it as a professional hazard, but not because I actually like feel like a Twitter personality. Yeah. And someone found me on Twitter, followed me, and then tweeted at me like, "Guess you don't really use Twitter, huh?" I know, that's why I never promote my Twitter.
I would love for you to become a Twitter personality, though.
What if she just used her Twitter to talk about how much she loved the Fast and the Furious movies one day?
I just like, Twitter doesn't appeal to me the way it does to some people. I could use it, but it's not going to look like
there's a learning
Twitter
curve.
Personality. Also, you have to like it.
Yeah.
And I don't really need to operate with the world. I don't know. It doesn't appeal to me.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, then
don't out my Twitter, Brett.
Sorry, my bad. Mary, there's some super chats there, and then let everyone know where they can find you.
Okay, Bobcat said, to be fair, it's easier for short-haired guys like me and Brett. Just wait a couple weeks and get a high and tight.
I do think my hair would come out more white, like more of what you think bleach hair looks like, because my hair is much lighter than Brett's naturally.
Yeah. Tyler Hogue said only 210. That's baby stuff. Try some G Fuel.
Yes, Hannah Claire.
You need some G Fuel?
He's saying you need G Fuel.
You guys don't understand. I don't actually need caffeine. I'm an intensely wound person as it is, but I like it.
I got called neurotic for the first time in my life recently.
You have really held on to that.
Have you not heard anyone in our office describe you? We all describe you as neurotic.
Not with that word.
Behind your back. No.
I would do it to your face. I'm sorry. Have I not done it to your face?
I said it to Brett's face, and he was just shocked. Like, wow, you really think I'm neurotic?
No,
like, yeah.
What?
Do you not think you're neurotic?
I don't know.
Join the club. I used to be shocked when people would describe me as neurotic. Now I'm just like, that's not even an interesting observation.
Like you're actually worried about anything. It's just your temperament. Like, there's nothing even going on. And you'll be a little bit nervous.
You don't know that. There could be something going on.
There will be nothing happening, and you're like, I'm worried about it. Like that's what I mean.
Be concerned about. That's like the best thing.
You putter around.
All those like
move things about.
Yeah.
All those people who make the jokes about how about how neurotic they are on social media. I'm like, ha, good one. Except for you're not actually like that. You're just. You
don't know what it's like, says Brett. I'm a blonde neurotic man.
His story will be told.
Mary, let everyone know where they can find you on social media.
You can find me on Instagram at Mary Archived. I changed my username.
It's so weird hearing that now.
Why'd you change
it? Yeah. I don't know. I just felt like I needed a change.
Also, when you're on timcast.com.
Yeah.
When you post articles
I promote articles from timcast.com on my Instagram, so go check them out.
Perfect. Guys, you can follow me on Instagram at Brett Dastovic. There's exactly one picture in my story of my blonde hair, and that was about the most I could stomach.
I think we should have a full-on photo shoot. What are we doing?
Yeah, a professional one. Where
anything but Britney Spears' photographer, whoever's taking her photos. Anybody but that. For the show, we are here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. We are also on, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Spotify. Again, those do go up the following day. So if you would rather catch the show the day of, we are right here on YouTube, live with video. It is a beautiful thing to behold, I swear. If you'd like to follow us on social media, we're on Twitter at @popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, and on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. We will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then, guys. Bye.
Bye.